Welcome to the Shadowverse Open. We are in the European portion of the tournament, and today is a very fine Saturday. I'm Rainy, your host. Joining me is Exodium on the desk. We have a little bit of a special broadcast for you today. Exodium is in here. Of course, yesterday we did the Shadowverse Charity Dextravaganza. Had a lot of fun with that. But today, it's serious competition. We're back into kind of these players battling it out for quite a lot of money and kind of the pride, the bragging rights to say that they are the European champion for the Starforged Legend season.
Yeah, and this is week 3, everyone. So put your hats on, buckle down. This is going to be an awesome day.
Let's take a look at the journey that these players had to go through. We had 3 weeks of qualifiers to kick off the entire season, and that was how we found the 6 new players to join the 6 top players from Season 2. And then in week 4, we had the Contenders Cup, and this was a tournament used to determine who the European and North American representatives were going to be to go to Tokyo for the World Grand Prix at the end of the year. And then now we are in the Invitational week. So we've already done 2 weeks here. We are on the 3rd, as you mentioned, Exo. And these players are playing each other player in their 2 groups. And we're going to find out who has the best record out of each of those groups. And the top players will move on to the regional finals to finally play out a double elimination bracket. Find out who the first place winner is. So that's going to be the format of the season. And, you know, it's the competition changes, right? The game evolves. The format is evolving. You know,
the metagame evolves.
Yep.
And the players themselves, like you're saying, evolve tremendously throughout every season. I mean, the decks that they bring, the breadth of what they can actually do, it's a wonderful thing to watch.
And it's really quite astounding to see, especially in the group stages and the round robin, how different the play styles are. They have to be, right? Because you're preparing against a player specifically. And if you have any kind of crutches or kind of things that are characteristic, you kind of need to make sure that you're kind of protecting yourself on all fronts.
That's right. That's right. Especially if you know that the person you're playing against does very much prepare for the next week, such as a Fatina. We know that Fatina likes to bring very specific counter decks to his opponents. You have to really be aware not to fall back on, like you said, one of your crutches or one of your fallback decks.
And if you're able to successfully defeat your opponent consistently, that's what's going to win you the prizing. Let's take a look at how much is offered here. Of course, in the Invitationals, 4th place from each group gets $250, but they will not move on to the regional finals. That's only the top 3 of each group, making 6. So if you're in the top 3 after the end of the round robin stage, you will move on to the regional finals, and that's where a lot of the cash prize can be won. First place, $6,500. Second, $3,000. Third, $2,500. Fourth, $1,500. And fifth and sixth, $950. The first place winner gets the Grand Champion Flare for Starforged Legends. So, that's what they have to play for, and of course there's still the World Grand Prix at the end, so there could be some player that wins both.
Absolutely.
It just makes a ton of money.
So much money. We're talking about close to, what, $50,000, $60,000 over the course of a year playing some Shadowverse?
A lot of dollars.
A lot of dollars.
That's a lot of dollars. So let's take a look at the schedule to see what matches are up on deck today. Pain versus Bad to kick things off. Then we've got Fatina versus Essia, Best Marmot versus Kionis, Akamaru Red versus Matt Allen, Dusty versus Sheepy, then Meow versus Sizoni. That's going to be the schedule for the day. I feel like there's already been some delineation, and there's going to be more of that today. So far, to me, the biggest players in each of these groups are going to be players like Akamaru Red. You have to watch out for him. Sizoni, I think, is playing a new, more refined style.
That's right.
It's kind of a molded Sizoni.
He's been adapting.
Slightly, yeah. It's a slightly more lean, slightly more efficient.
Yeah, trimming the fat off a little bit, not doing the crazy Sizoni things that we love him for, but, he's trying to win. He's a competitor, so, got to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah. What I'm interested in seeing are who are some of these players who might be a little less defined or maybe, further behind right now in their scoreline, maybe 0-2, something like that. Who are those players that are going to rise up?
Absolutely.
Our first match here, Pain versus Bad. Let's take a look at the overall picture here. It looks like blood on both sides is banned. And something interesting, I think in the West, blood is super popular.
Yes.
Everybody is using Blood as one of their picks, and then Dragon and Rune are kind of the alternate two crafts that people really love to bring. But definitely, it seems like the West favors Blood a lot.
Well, I think you hit on a good point. Blood, Rune, and Dragon are the three most malleable deck types you can do. You can run aggro versions, you can run mid-range versions, you can run control versions, combo. I mean, they're all over the place. They're all successful at what they do, especially Blood right now. Blood, you can literally throw whatever cards you want into your deck, and it feels pretty good. You just, mold it to your play style.
So we talked about a few of the crafts that are very popular. Let's focus in on Runecraft.
Yes.
So typically, and especially within the context of this expansion, Dimension Shift has been the Runecraft deck that people have been talking about, have been having trouble with, is really strong right now. Pain is bringing a Runecraft deck that's a little bit different, right? This card, this particular archetype, Daria Rune, is something that people haven't really seen in a
back,
while.
baby.
Yeah. We haven't seen this in a while, but there's been some rumors, some bubblings, some murmurs of, is Daria back? Pain is trying to show us that she is. Tell us a little bit about the card. What does Daria do for those of us who are less veteran? How does this card operate?
Of course. So it's a 9-play 0.55 follower. It spell boosts every time you cast a spell before it, and as we'll see in some of the Daria's cards, they also spell boost, even though they're built into followers. What it does is when she comes into play, you'll banish the rest of the cards in your hand, redraw up to 5 new cards, and spell boost them 5 times.
Yeah, and that's really useful for refilling hand.
Yep.
Also very useful for speeding up a lot of the cards that are put in the deck because they are taking effect of that spell boost, such as the Blade Mages or even the Chimeras can give you a lot of value, and the Oglers just for good stats. And so this is the list that Pain is going to be running with. A few interesting things to note. We talked quite in depth. I mean, you and Envy and Mofu have had conversations about Chimera as a card.
Yes.
Kind of Magic Owl being the card that kind of enables that. Also, the one of Mystic Ring is actually a very big, I think a very slight, but a big change for the deck. How do you like this particular list that Pain has put together?
Sure. So what we can see again is Magic Owl in favor of Levi, and in this list even over Craig. So kind of trimming the fat off of the lower end of the curve to kind of make this explosive tempo-oriented Daria deck. So this isn't going to be the aggro style that we're used to, where you're just trying to burn your opponent out turn after turn. You've got the Levi, Crimson Sorceries coming to face. This is going to be, I'm going to build up really strong turns, unload, and then try to refill with another Daria, do it again, and I think that's why we see the inclusion of Mystic Ring, because as we know, Daria doesn't like to play with herself. Yep. She likes to throw her sisters back. She doesn't like having coffee with her sisters, that kind of thing. So throw her back.
Darias
so
don't hang out with each other.
No, they don't. They're not fans of each other.
So Pain versus Bad, who is it? Pain or Bad?
It's tough. So Bad, as we know, is a control player. She got here playing control. She's very defined as a control player. Now she's bringing a triple aggro lineup. So we're going to see today if she has what it takes to play an all aggro lineup. Yeah. I think Pain is right in his comfort zone with 3 aggro-ish decks. So we're going to see. This is pretty much a 50-50 matchup with deck archetypes. We'll see if Bad has the chops to play aggro.
It's going to be about how much depth does Bad have to play. So let's throw it over to the commentators. We've got Mofu and Envy waiting on deck. So let's see what they have to say about the match.
So, is this the real Bad? Is this the actual Bad? Like the Bad that I'm used to, control Bad Blood? Playing 3 aggro decks? Has she even played aggro decks in a tourney before? I'm pretty surprised by this entire thing.
I don't think so. I mean, she still has blood. I don't know. I mean, you can't be predictable, Mofu. Come on, you can't be predictable.
Yeah, that's like your signature move.
You gotta bring new stuff.
It's like, right, very true. But looks like these are going to be some really, really fast matches. Triple aggro versus triple aggro-ish tempo swingy decks. I don't imagine these are games that are going to last all that long.
And both bland blood. Bland blood.
Bland blood.
Bland blood.
The solid part of the plan. That's really interesting to me, actually, that she finds. Well, it makes a lot of sense considering Bloodcraft with 2 Diabolic Drains and such in Pain's list is probably the hardest thing for her to deal with this kind of setup.
It's kind of interesting. Even so, Daria, they mentioned Daria a little bit on the desk. Daria is a deck that is really bad against triple control. It would have been terrible to have bring Daria against control. So I wonder if like he kind of called it a little bit on Bad's part. There's no way Daria was going to get banned against control, right? So.
Well, We're gonna get to see that pretty soon. Now, this is actually something I'm not too familiar with because I haven't seen an aggro shadow list like this in forever. This is actually kind of nostalgic to me. This is my
really
latter days.
I remember correctly. This is a PDK dragon, right? Yeah. So PDK dragon with the curve ending at Forte, just like nothing past Forte at all. So very interesting.
I see it's a pretty good hand to have in dragon. Pretty much like every single game you want to see something like this. I'm pretty sure we'll see within the next 3 turns. Rowan just completely goes Super Saiyan. In fact, he gets a Draconic Fervor amidst all of this. Once that staircase pops, I think we'll probably see this game just completely swing in Pain's favor after that point.
Well, I mean, he gets to evolve first, but to be fair, Bad's got, she's got 2/2s on the board. She can make some more 2/2s. And Ayla only trades for 1 of those. It is going to be kind of awkward once Pain has like 7 play points, or 8 even, once Bad's only on 4 or 5, but I don't know.
There's always that lingering hope that Bad can just send this all in and make Pain's ladder or staircase pop as late as it possibly can. And even when it does, it could sometimes not pull PDK. And then even if he gets all those play points, it might still not actually help him at all.
Yeah, no. So actually, Prime Dragon Keeper's nerfed now, so it's 4 play points even. So that ramp is even more important to get it to be, somewhere where you can even play it. And then it actually have, play points available to play followers in the same turn. Because that's really the power of PDK. It's like when it feels really good is when you play followers in the same turn, right? So.
Actually, like, all I know about PDK was actually just watching you play it because I couldn't really afford it myself. Or, like, the latter parts of the deck. So
Dragon decks have notoriously always been a lot of vials, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, like, I have a hard time reading situations like this. Is this, like, a good position for Pain to be in? I can't tell, like, how ahead Bad would be.
Not with that Cerberus top deck. No, it is not. But Orthrus 2 pushes damage. This is terrible for PDK. He has nothing in his hand that will... He actually has to top deck a PDK here to actually have a chance. And it has to not hit Lurching Corpse. That's the situation.
Right. At least the Lurching Corpse with the Evo is going to survive quite a bit. But at the same time, that's, as I said before, not really a game that's going to last long. Forte, not really the most useful thing here.
Instant Fervor into a Blazing Breath. Pretty okay, though. Blazing Breath evolve into Raid. You live a little bit.
I see it. So if you were to evolve here, is he going to send that into the Lurching Corpse?
It's possible. Definitely yes.
Yeah.
Definitely yes. Because you still have Blazing Breath back here for the 2/2. You want to get rid of the most damage on board as possible. You're evolved. You're against Shadow. Your evolve doesn't matter anyway. You're gonna get Soul Squashed anyway. And we see the Bad is holding that as well. So.
And the Mega Lorca just set the Nereid up. Like that's just clear board. Lost tempo here and Cerberus turn for Bad. So even if Pain pulls PDK here, is
Well, he's actually looking for Sybil and PDK. The God draw here is to pull. He's on 10 play points, so if he pulls both Sybil and PDK, he can go Sybil, PDK, Ivory Dragon, evolve any of those, and then heal off of Sybil, and then he'll be sitting pretty, right?
Right. I don't see him getting a chance to play out these Fortes afterwards, though, so I think beyond that staircase popping, it really just comes down to whether Pain can get, as you said, Sybil, other healing options.
Right. Bad could go in right here for 2+4+2, not quite being able to kill Pain, but that'll also just use up all of her resources completely. So I'm not sure if she's going to go for that full Cerberus into evolve into both Coco and Mimi play I just mentioned. I doubt it. Probably Prince Catacombs this turn.
I'm feeling the Soul Squasher Catacombs here because Pain does have an evolution orb, yet doesn't really always feel good to commit a Soul Squash without killing something for it.
Right.
But at the same time, what is this? How do you deal with this?
This damage, right?
This is my special move.
Sticky damage. You don't even care if Pain's not going to evolve Sybil anyway, right? Pain knows that Soul Squasher exists. He's not going to fall into that Sybil plan anyway. Just get the damage as you have it. You have a Cerberus in your hand to fall back on. I like this play a lot.
Mordecai leader or skeletons, just completely ready to go in here. So short of getting a Blazing Breath off the actual draw here,
was the worst. Well, I mean, there is PDK, but these skeletons are going to make this really impossible, I think, to clear. Unless Ivory Dragon just draws Ivory Dragons. Sybil? Okay.
Sybil. That
was the God
Back
curve.
up to 9.
Got it. Is
That's
Sibling
actually
good enough?
exactly as you called it, except like the only difference is the Ivory
I
Dragon
don't think
bolted.
it's been good enough. I think Scyther, yeah. I think Scyther's actually better. Didn't hit the 3-4,
Just gotta get
which
these
is
skelly
good.
boys out of here.
3-4. But these skeletons, man. How do you get these skeletons? Oh my gosh.
And they're so cute. I learned just yesterday that skeletons are an actual just emblem of their own. Like amidst all the other like wonderful arts you can pick from. But even past the evolution here, I think that's 3 damage left on board. And then Cerberus pumps that up by an additional 4 on the play.
Cerberus does add 4 to the board, and that's going to be lethal for bad. A very quick victory, turn 7.
That was ooh.
Instant surrender.
Pain on that,
Doesn't want to
that
see
APM on that
me.
surrender. Wait, you just see that? They actually
Yeah,
still
I saw
went
that.
off. Like,
That was-
referee
came out
turned
anyway.
around.
Spoopy.
Alright, quick win. That was an assertive victory too. Bad, known for playing control in like the most conservative way imaginable beforehand, but clearly has the practice to just completely go in, count damage, and take an easy matchup like that if Pain just fails to respond.
When you play control decks, you kind of show that you're good at math, right? You know, quick maths are how you're good at aggro. So I didn't doubt her skills really.
Right.
Time to shine, Daria.
So
This is
moving.
Daria against. So what do you think happens with Daria against Forest?
This is really weird because like I have history with you with this. We used to cast Forest versus Rune like 20 times a day, right? But both have changed so much since then.
Things have changed since then, though. So.
Both classes have grown and moved on since. We have all these amulets in Forest that are so. I think Wood of Brambles and Elf Song have just like single or dual-handedly just transformed this class ever since. It's like unrecognizable from its past forms.
Well, I mean, realistically, we've regressed back to playing Blessed Fairy Dancer, so I think we're actually getting back to our roots, if anything.
Now, I think this is probably one of the matchups where, and the Wood of Brambles and the advantage it can give you versus like aggressive decks doesn't really show up that much.
It would be insane if Pain's hand was not atrocious. Mystic Ring into an Insight. If that Insight finds what he threw back, okay, all right. That's one of the reasons I hate Mystic Ring personally, is because whenever you Mystic Ring something away, you're always going to draw it right back immediately. That's what happens. We all know that.
I remember like the first time I even caught wind of Daria being something that people looked into again. Was I actually have to credit that to you too. I remember you were playing Daria for like an entire day, and then like the day after, it just suddenly became popular again because some Japanese player just like discovered it.
Dude,
and it was like the same list.
I can see the future. I told you guys Daria would get popular again. That was the real purpose of my Smurf account, was just to test out Daria, and I knew after the first couple games. Yeah.
That said, now Angelic Snipe is actually something I've been staring at this entire time. This is not something I remember seeing in Daria at all. I'd imagine things like Angelic Snipe and even Mystic Ring, I've noticed since I've been like dabbling into D-Shift myself recently, that 1-cost spells and Rune are like, they have this entire other effect like stapled onto all of them, which just gives you these turbo turns sometimes with how you can play them next to a Magic Owl.
1-cost spells, sort of, in a way, they compound with multiple spell boost cards in your hand to sort of ramp you in a way. It's kind of weird. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically, if you play enough 1-cost spells, you're basically playing Dragon. Kind of. Yeah.
It's like you're playing Dragon in a way that like works only in your current hand. It's a lot to manage. But
yeah, exactly. It's like it's like a more, contained version of Dragon, right? You can't top deck a 10 drop, right? But you can play an 18 drop in your hand, right?
Now you said that this hand was really awful, and I'm like staring at it now. I think it had a pretty good response to fairies for the most part, but now post Elf Song, it's looking really difficult to actually get a solid clear on bad here into bad's next few turns.
Right. The thing about Elf Song is that it very quickly can turn what looked like an okay board, an okay easy to clear board with Magic Missile, Angelic Snipe, into, oh my gosh, I can't kill anything because they're all 1 more toughness now, which is bad.
Life's fate is that.
Pretty bad. Like bad board.
Pretty bad. It's gonna get worse too. Oh gosh, Roach drawn.
Now, that's pretty huge. That's always been like one of the quintessential parts of matchups like this is like what wards does Rune really have, especially when you play a version that doesn't use like new things like Golem Assault or otherwise. And that's like, aside from that, there's really nothing in this game that will like prevent or keep you safe from a Roach setup. And Bad's probably going to get the chip damage you need to.
Exactly. I mean, some Daria decks do, like mine personally, a lot of people do as well in Japan, will run Golem Assault in Daria, and even will go so as far, some of them will play Ice Golem, Summon Ice Golem. But none of that is available for Pain, so like you said, that Roach is going to be instrumental in finishing off. I think, honestly, Bad could even, I mean, she could even go hardcore into this and just try to set it up anyway, like, just go in this turn.
Yeah. If you're Bad here, what are you thinking about? Is she perhaps drawn to the allure of playing Staircase as it always tempts you on 5, or?
I don't think so quite as much as that. Brambles into Fairy, Bless Fairy Dancer, evolve the Fairy on the board, probably, or just flood wide into Bless Fairy Dancer, evolve the Fairy on the board. She might be considering killing the Ogler. You know, it is possible that Daria goes really wide in one turn and then just Piercing Runes you and just goes in. So it's possible. Yeah, okay, I like this. Go face.
Going for that chip damage.
It's 4 damage, chip damage. It's a fifth of your life.
Is it a chip damage, or she just kind of like baseball bat Pains
Ooh,
like
that owl though.
Oh my.
Oh my.
I don't think the Daria is playable even past the owl, right?
You play a lot of Rune, right, Mofu?
A little bit lately. I'm practicing.
Have you heard the Gospel of the Owl?
I have heard the Gospel of the Owl. I've noticed
How good is
this owl is like the most important card Rune has ever received in like the past like several expansions. Just this little bronze owl
bull.
bull.
Best thing since Slice Levi, yes. It is incredible. Ooh, we're not killing the last fairy. Okay. Alright.
I guess Pain also wants to respond to that damage rather than just sit here and trade the entire time. Probably senses Bad, probably has a threat or something coming. Doesn't have much time.
Exactly. Even though Pain is running a little bit less damage than normal, running Kaleidoscopic Lows, Mystic Rings, his deck is still a Daria deck, and it still wants to do damage so it can actually win the game, so.
Even withdrawing the Owl, since Owl itself will never really spell boost something past, like, the amount of play points you have to pay for it, like, it wouldn't help with the fact that he couldn't play the Daria this turn. It means, like, Pain's damage is not really going to come out until the turn after this one, which is going to be his swing. But what's happening with Bad's hand here? We noticed the pickup on the Roach, but limited board space. Bramble hasn't popped yet. The Fairy Dancers, but no developed board, which is probably going to get swung soon. I wonder if Pain isn't actually in a pretty good spot here.
I think Bad is heavily considering trading, and this Fairy is about to get some mega value. Oh gosh. Oh no.
Triple Strike Fairy. Pretty good.
That's a pretty good Fairy.
The Evo Orb here can just like take out this owl and the fairy just not take a hit in return.
Right, yeah, that's actually insanely powerful too, because it also will survive Piercing Runes as well. Like, Kaleidoscopic Glow can bounce it, but you risk drawing into a Daria.
That was always the most terrifying parts of these turns. Oh, no Daria?
Okay, alright. Piercing Rune, Ogler, Daria, for sure you ditch a Blade Mage, but you can't pass up this board.
This is kind of like just the climax of the Daria deck, usually.
Oh, beautiful draw. Angelic Snipe face, Blade Mage Evolve face, I believe, never mind. Okay.
Never mind.
Play a bit more passively than I had an idea of.
You saw like a whole like anime cutscene of fighting there.
I was like, yeah, dude, the game is over. My deck has no pathetic cards. I'm going face.
Really
I do like the more conservative play, though. It plays around top decking a spell boost card. You can spell boost it with Angelic Snipe, or it plays around top decking a Piercing Rune. You can evolve to make it 2. So either of those top decks are pretty great now.
So as I was mentioning, it seemed like Pain was in a pretty good spot here, but I'm noticing even though Bad has access to a Roach, there's no bounce here, and there's no board for these 2 Blessed Fairy Dancers, and there's no board space to set up anything else. So what is actually the play here? I'm like trying to see if Bad actually really has a solid out to this.
Well, she's gonna have to defensive Roach. Unfortunately, out of evolves, you can't really do anything. The Ogre is all you can get rid of. This is gonna be really close. 7+2+1 is not quite that.
Is Pain one off here, I think?
Yeah.
One off, yeah. Ooh,
Never
there it
mind.
is.
Always gets it. Pain draws lethal.
Mm-hmm. There's an easy insight magic missile. There's so much. This is something I'll like forever remember about this deck. Is like before Daria's existence, there wasn't really any deck that just had like this massive amount of burn in it, other than just like Agrobats back in the day. There's the conceit.
Yeah, Razory Claws and Demonic Strikes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Against Daria, it's like you always cross your fingers when you have to leave up damage that they don't have the extra burn, and then just draw into it because there's like 15 possible pieces.
It's insane, yeah. Even when you fill the deck with Mystic Rings and Kaleidoscopic Glows, there's still a lot of damage outs. There's Blade Mages, Magic Missiles, Angelic Snipes, Piercing Runes. There's so many ways to actually like kill your opponent when it looks like you have no way to do it.
Yeah, and back in our day, they even played Demonic Strike. I specifically remember conceding to that so often. All right, so
4 play points for 3 damage. Oh, the easy times.
we were so innocent back then when that was the most damage we knew
We're so innocent.
in our childhoods. But
Aggro
so
Forest. Ooh, that hand though. Against PDK.
yeah, Bad's looking like it's not gonna help it.
And stuck going first, and that hand is terrible. Oh my gosh.
And doesn't look like Pain's gonna be struggling.
Yeah, this is gonna be a climb from the pits of whatever that hand is.
Pretty much. When does this hand even activate? I think Bad's first turn, right, is just the Aperia at this point. Like this Water Fairy can maybe respond to some of the throwaway followers that PDK plays early to cycle at best.
That's possible. Bless Fairy Dancer. Oh gosh, that's just ugh. I mean, I guess you could poke. He could Roach Poke and then, and I guess you could barrage the 1/2. Ew.
Get that 1 damage in there.
Oh no.
Oh.
This feels
Bad
bad.
just really
That's
wants to
actually
do
what Bad's
something.
doing. She's doing that,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, it preserves the Water Fairy, right? So I kind of like it.
Right. I think preserving the Water Fairy just like that is really strong, just because this is Bad's last line of defense, really, in terms of like trying to have a strong opener. At least try to get a little damage in there.
Just a little bit, just a little eensy bit of damage. That does give a fairy
Little
for Fairy
bit.
Driver to work off of on 6. So, ugh, oh gosh. Here we go, double Roach. That's the play, right?
That is very, very assertive. Let's get that 3 damage in there.
3 damage for 4 play points. We just said Demonic Strike's pretty good, and this one's stuck on 2 bodies. So,
Yeah, it's a demonic strike that spawns things that you gotta remove.
easy.
And then she can go to Fairy Driver and the Fairy and do another 2. Just get these little love taps. Right,
Skips the
but none
turn.
of that seems realistic enough to actually commit here.
Right, so snap Draconic Fervor from Pain. A perfect turn for him. He's now an Overflow next turn. Bad, I don't know what she can even draw. I mean, she's got the Hyperia this turn, so
Unfortunately,
that's actually not bad. Liza's great against PDK, realistically, because, you
Yeah,
know, that way
absolutely.
Breath doesn't do anything. PDK itself doesn't do anything.
I think that's actually like, I remember even between that and like Beauty and the Beast were 2 things people were flipping out to really try to deal with PDK and effects like it. I really like that pre-evolve there, because otherwise seeing him go into Overflow there is just, it would just spell absolutely nothing from a 5/4 stat line.
Exactly. That Aqua Narade would have gone to town.
Alright, 7/2 though, sticking in there. Nothing more Pain can do about that.
Can't stop that. Gonna pre-evolve his own Prime Dragon Keeper here. Interesting.
Is it afraid of an Airbound Barrage, perhaps?
Yeah, probably doesn't want to die into Airbound Barrage. It's gonna get Dance of Death though, for sure.
You feeling that Dance of Death?
I
It
think
seems
we're
like
feeling
a
that Dance of Death.
Yeah, it seems like a really good play to go for here. Nothing really worth doing with the Fairy Driver. There's also like some vague possibility I see of trying to just develop board instead. Going for a couple followers into Liza, maybe?
I mean, you get like Fairy Roach Liza, I guess. Or you can go Roach Liza to protect everything, I guess. I'm not sure.
Maybe. I guess it just comes down to like what is bad looking to do with the Superior? Just hit face and lose it. Hit face, get rid of the PDK. That's it. Put it up next to a bunch of followers and Eliza so that Pain has a lot to deal with and not much to do with it. It's really kind of hard for me to make that call even.
Well, if Bad's willing to use her last evolve to hopscotch the 2/2 and plays Eliza last, then she'll have a pretty hard to answer board if that PDK also dies. But it would be literally impossible to play Eliza and kill the PDK. So I'm not quite sure if that's the option. I think yeah, just go face for 9. I like it.
Right. That one last play point. I guess that fairy's gonna get held. No need to kill anything with it to pop that staircase for him.
Right, absolutely no reason to play that when you're holding, Blazing Breath, when you're holding the fairy driver there, so.
Solid Blazing Breath. I think it slows down Pain a little bit. I mean, he's got his play points all figured out, but with the loss of that PDK, he's not got anything else. Needs a cycle for another way to actually, like, assert any kind of advantage he's gotten so far.
Right. I imagine Evolve will come down. Yeah, from Pain. Spreading the stats around, I like it. He has to realize that there are no wards in his deck. He either draws Sybil to heal a little bit or kills Bad before, she kills him. And he's much lower than he seems because the 2 roaches are in hand, so.
I think one thing that Bad's got to consider with that Evolve, though, is that 6 damage left on board. And even though he doesn't have it now, he's searched a lot of followers with the staircase. He's played a couple Dragon Summoners. If he just so much as has a Forte in hand, in the case that he might, then that is a lethal setup right there.
That is true. 6 + 7 is 13. However, Bad's entire win condition is to go face as much as possible. So I don't imagine she'll evolve defensively. We'll see. Maybe defensively using the fairy off the fairy driver. I'm not sure. This turn's hard also, honestly.
Yeah. The fairy driver, I mean, there's no other fairy generation in her hand right now. It'd take a while to get any
driver fairy Liza is fine, I guess. You don't get to play the staircase though. Ooh, a defensive, yep. Double defensive. Okay, I mean, I like it. She's respecting Forte and I like it. I do like this play.
Just wants to keep board here. Knows that there's not really anything that Dragon can do or any tricks it can really use to remove a board when it can't do damage through effects.
Ooh, Sybil gone. Well, that I was gonna agree with you, Mofu, until I saw that Scyther in hand, because that Scyther does do that.
I think Pain has lethal, right? With the Erd. Played around it.
But Scyther does remove followers if they have Liza effect.
True, yeah.
But Forte does 12 damage.
That's really solid finisher for Pain. Just managed to, well, I think I attribute that a lot to Bad's massively slow starter. But
that was
Pain
definitely
takes it, right?
unfortunate for her. Yeah, let's see what Rainy and Exo think of that game.
Yeah, let's see what the desk has to say about that.
Yep.
There it is. Pain takes the win there. Forte Erd. Actually, there was a really interesting post on the Reddit. That was a translation from a Japanese player. I believe the player's name was Hasu. Talking about the Dragon deck. And he was talking about Forte within the context of kind of Forte Erd and the things that Erd could do. And Erd was one of his favorite cards, actually, for use of getting that storm damage up there.
Of course.
And also just the flexibility of being able to ramp if you need that.
Ayala ramp, Forte combos. Yeah, it's got a lot of flexibility.
And he was also talking about it within the context of Dreadsea. So he kind of really identified Dreadsea, Erd, Forte, Ayala. These cards were kind of the linchpin to his Dragoncraft deck. I think Pain demonstrated one of the strongest ways to use Erd there.
100%. I mean, drawing into a combo, especially with how powerful Staircase is, being able to draw you into both on the same turn, especially in this late game scenario, where you're kind of in this back and forth moment. Can these roaches kill me? Am I going to draw my Forte in time? And then all of a sudden, combo, OTK time.
Yeah. What's interesting, so on the flip side, let's talk a little bit about Agroforce. That we saw it just drop 2 games there.
Yes.
We've seen Agroforce be very dangerous, but those games in particular really felt like it was just, it really felt like neutral forest that we were watching previously, kind of in the qualifiers.
Right, just a little slower.
Underwhelming, you know?
Right. I think there are two main reasons for that. I think in the second game, Bad played a little bit more tempered than I think she should have. And one of the things that we were considering before the match, you know, is Bad comfortable with aggro decks and things like that. I really think she just slowed down a little bit. She filled up the board, didn't allow herself enough board space to play out her Roaches and her Blessed Fairy Dancers to keep pushing damage. And she kind of gave the game back to Bad a little bit and saying, to Pain a little bit and saying, I'm going to let you do some things and have some time with Daria to set up. And that's not what you want to do against Daria. And then in Game 3, we really just saw Staircase to Paradise not being the best include in aggro forced, mostly because it fills board space. It's a little too slow. If you don't have that early board presence like we saw, it's not going to draw you into anything relevant. You know, it could draw you into some, you know, Fairy Whisperers or Lyzas or things like that, but not these endgame threats that we see out of Dragon, of course. So just a few little things that I noticed throughout the games that maybe could have shifted the favor back into Bad. Yeah.
Well, that was going to earn Pain the win, and Bad will have to revisit aggro strategy and kind of figure out how to kind of assess different options that you have. And I think it's not as easy, right, as you would imagine.
I mean, it's even card selection. When you're playing aggro, it's about how can I deal the most damage in the fastest way possible, and what are the obstacles in my way that I need to force through. And to play Staircase or not to play Staircase? This is the question.
Very powerful card, but sometimes it's not kind of what you're looking for.
Right.
So, Pain gonna go up one game here in Bad. I think that will be her second loss in the group.
I think so. She skated on first week, and I think she lost last week, but yeah, we'll get to see it soon enough.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of Pain continue to demonstrate how comfortable he is in kind of those aggressive matchups. I really actually like the way his Daria deck played out. I think it was a classic Daria.
Classic Daria. Yeah, you kind of play defensively until you build up this explosive Daria turn, did exactly that, and then just took over the game. Absolutely.
So we're going to be transitioning very soon to the next match here, which is going to be Fatina versus Essia.
Yes.
And this is going to be a really interesting one. I mean, Fatina is quite at least in my eyes, a very well-known tournament player by now. You know, he's been in the tournament scene for a very long time. He's a very emotional player.
Oh yeah.
And he's very hard on himself, but that is one of the reasons why he's one of the best, I feel. So here's the overhead of the match. We've got Rune versus Rune and Blood versus Shadow is kind of the way that it breaks down. Dragon banned out and Blood banned out. How do you feel about this kind of these deck archetypes battling against each other right here? What is your kind of assessment of this match?
Yeah, so Fatina does what we talked about even before this match, in the fact that I believe he has tuned his deck specifically to beat Essia today. So Essia brought D-Shift and Vengeance Blood, and these decks can be preyed upon by aggro decks. And what we see out of Fatina today are Dirt Rune and Aggro Shadow. So two decks that can go well under what Essia is bringing today. So I think Fatina has a very good handle on this matchup, and I think he's primed to win.
And that's one of Fatina's genius, right?
That's it.
Understanding the opponents that he's playing and building the perfect decks for that scenario. Let's take a look at Essia's deck here. Now, one of the cards that we actually just talked about and talk about a lot is Staircase to Paradise.
Yes.
In the context of a Dragoncraft deck, Staircase to Paradise, I think, has given Dragoncraft a lot of strength, provided the card options, and kind of really unlocking the strength of a lot of these Dragoncraft cards in en masse, right? So Staircase to Paradise, how does this card work?
Yeah.
What are we looking to do with it?
So it's a 1 play point amulet that has countdown 7. When it finally ticks down, at the beginning of your next turn, you'll draw 3 random followers from your deck. You can also enhance it for 5 to pop the amulet that turn and then still get that same effect. And it will count down by 1 every single time an allied follower dies. So what you got to be thinking about with that card is, what am I going to draw into? How early can I activate it? And do I ever want to use the enhance effect? Once you've solved all 3 of those problems with your deck, I think you're in a good place.
And so Essia is going to be making full use of that, and there is the ramp to paradise. He knows it.
Oh yeah.
He knows it. He knows that Staircase to Paradise is really great. So this is interesting. We're actually just talking about Dreadsea Erd and this whole package with the Genesis Dragon. This might actually be the exact list. that the Japanese player was using here. He also identified really likes Lucifer there, and just really likes the ability to have the option to evolve it for that damage, but also have the sustain on the non-evolved version. But this list is very highly spoken of, right? Two big things: PDK cut, not there,
Not in it.
right? Not interested in that game plan. Not really interested in what it has to offer. Just wants to play Ramp Dragon proper. How do you feel about the list in total?
So this looks like classic Ramp Dragon. The big departure for me is that he's playing Lucifer without Saha Quill. So he's not using it for like any combo finishes or anything like that. Lucifer is just there as an 8-drop just to gain some health and, like you said, have the opportunity to finish the game by itself if he needs to. And it's got, of course, the Genesis Dragon Erd combo with Queen of the Dread Sea to kind of just push for that insane late game damage. We're talking of upwards of 16 damage out of a single 2 to 3 card combo.
Very, very potent, very powerful. Dread Sea has the explosive power that kind of, especially, I think when it gets really bad is when there's that one turn where it's just like, I can't quite clear this follower right now, and you leave any other damage on board.
Right.
Dread Sea becomes incredibly far-reaching at that point.
Now on the same, or on the other side of the coin, actually, if you get too many Queen of the Dread Seas in your hand, they kind of just stock up and you're still just waiting. However, Staircase to Paradise, namesake of the deck, kind of gets you out of that bind. You can pop it, and then you're most assuredly going to draw into something that you can do. That's the power of Staircase in decks like this that have those powerful endgame combo pieces.
Well, Mofu and Envy are at the ready, so let's see what they have to say about the match.
Right, so this looks kind of similar to the previous matchup. I thought it looks like it's going to be a pretty quick series because there's still not really much control we're seeing other than Ramp Dragon, but even then, we're seeing a pretty combo-y Queen of the Dread Sea kind of list come out with it. So I'm thinking this is going to be those kinds of games where you just kind of see whether the combo manages to make it out before aggro gets the win here.
I agree. I'm going to toss it to Fatina as well. I think that his triple aggro-y lineup is good. Mofu, what do you think of this aggro shadow showing up so much? This is like 2 times today. This first, 2 times we've seen this Orthrus Phantom Hell Cerberus deck coming back out of nowhere.
Like I said before, it's nostalgic. This is something I remember being effective so long ago, like back in the Rise of Bahamut really just releasing is when I remember this becoming really, really popular. And it's like, it doesn't look so different. It's
3
they added
Phantom
Soul
House,
Squasher, but other than that, same list.
3. Mofu, I don't know what to do. I have no idea what to even say. Fatina banned Blood, Esha banned Dragoncraft. Who do you think is gonna win, Mofu?
I'm gonna say that just on the quality of consistency alone, I'm gonna put it up to Fatina here. I think Fatina's more prepared for this kind of matchup. He's a bit more, he's got the edge, the advantage of archetype against SEA here. I'd say SEA has to get some pretty solid draws to really get through these.
I gotcha. I believe. Okay. I don't know. I say what. You know what? I'm going to be the contrarian. I'm going to say Eshia's going to win. Eshia's been playing very, very consistently as of late. He always kind of has been a rather consistent player. I think he's like EXO's favorite player or something. But he's definitely been really, really hitting it recently. So.
And I guess I can't always really toss it up to an advantage of an aggro archetype when the new fully powered up version of D-Shift has just been making the rounds lately. As we know, D-Shift doesn't auto-lose to aggro anymore.
Did you know, Mofu? I don't know if you read Reddit, but did you know that turn 4 is highly consistent? Turn 4 lethal is highly consistent. Do you know that?
Turn 4, like D-Shift?
Yes.
Like, D-Shift can go off onto that,
It can. I'm actually kidding, but yes, it can. Yes, you can D-Shift on turn 4. I'm kidding, but I was being sarcastic.
I remember there was actually something like that going around on like Reddit or otherwise, where people were like, "Oh man, D-Shift really can go off on turn 4. You just need like the top 20 cards of your deck to be this exact like sequence in this order."
Yeah, it has to be perfect. You have to be running like Blade Mages and Enchanted Swords. It has to be perfect, literally. But that doesn't matter. I was kidding anyway. Dirt Rune versus Blood. Mofu.
That is I. Here, I'm here.
You already know what I'm gonna ask, man.
Seeing it.
You already know what I'm gonna ask. Dirt Rune versus Blood. What do you think? This is like an aggro. I personally think this matchup is terrible for Bloodcraft. What do you think?
I completely agree because there are some cards, and we see 2 of them, that Dirt Rune would just love to see in this matchup every single time, which is turn 1, you drop the Scrap Iron Smelter, and it just leaves a ward up that really just absorbs any early game damage. It's really effective against so many different archetypes. And then after that, you have Carl. I think just off of these two alone, Fatina just has this really safe early game that Essia is going to have to really work to push over.
I agree with that. The Scrap Iron Scarecrow is is quite the great card. There's also one of Twin Guardians. Do you know what Twin Guardians even does, Mofu? Can you tell me?
I know what Twin Guardians does. I'm a role player. Like, this is my favorite card. Right. There's a single copy, as Envy mentioned, of Twin Guardians in this deck. I don't know where this came from. I think some Japanese player made a list with it, but it summons 2 Guardian Golems, consumes an Earthright if there is one, to give all Guardian Golems +1/+1. And I love this because cards like this reinforce the idea that just the one thing, like just Guardian Golem, the one dude, is his own archetype. Like, there's support for just this guy.
Yeah, Golem Assault, it's not being played, but it is a great way to summon yo man, Guardian Golem.
He's, our boy,
Guardian Golem. It's great.
At first, I think I remember, I saw the list and I thought it was cute, but then like my eyes widened when I realized a huge part of why these lists sometimes bring Twin Guardians that actually synergizes really well with Wizardess of Oz. You can actually protect her body with it, protect your own body with it. It's really good for your health to really have that kind of a combo in it.
Right, and because Oz draws 5, it's very easy to find even a one of that you play, and you can cheat it out, quote unquote cheat it out 1 turn early, because Oz can be played on 6 play points, turns that Twin Guardians into 1. Twin Guardians is a 7 play point spell normally, but with Oz it's 1, so like you said, protects the Oz perfectly. It's a great swing play. It's huge.
Really strong stuff. It can come out after like the Master Mage Levi that Fatina already has. So I think, as you were saying, with how Blood might just have a hard time with this matchup, is like, what does Essia do here? You got to turn 4 and you have the Evolve on it going second, but this is one of those games where you just don't want to play the Belphegor, so you stay unactivated. It's rough stuff.
Right, this is normally a fairly easy matchup for Dirt Rune, I think, personally. But I mean, looking at Fatina's hand, it's gonna be kind of hard to close this out realistically. I mean, Master Mage Levi can wipe, that Succubus, but there's not a single thing outside of that Urias that's freshly drawn that Essia could play that would die to that. So, I don't know.
So many huge bodies coming out from this sort of a Blood deck. Something else that's kind of unfortunate is, often whenever Levi, like as you mentioned, doesn't successfully clear what's left over of a board, usually they'll just want to evolve him and hit that one thing that somehow managed to survive 3 damage. Except you can't do that against Blood, because Belphegor, if she's evolved, just kind of like just wipes out the rest of his 6/6 body when he's evolved. Scarlet Saber, just the word trade doesn't exist to her really.
Well, the word trade does exist there. She trades with everything. She has Bane. She forces you to trade with her.
Or at least it doesn't exist for the opponent. Like, even just here, he can't commit it. He can't get rid of Essia's board. He has to leave it up. Like, Saber is just such a pain for, like, anything, any class, including Dirt Rune, which is, like, king of removing board to actually get off.
Don't get me started on Sabor. I despise Sabor. It's such a good card.
Their favorite card?
5 play point 2 for Bane that also does 2 damage and heals you for 2. Its value is insane.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing it here. Saber takes something out as it enters play, heals you, so any effect or card which was spent to deal damage to you basically gets discarded from the history of the game. And then its body stays alive, takes out another thing. Sometimes it gets evolved for another thing. It's like a 1 card that can sometimes just equate to the value of like 4 cards your opponent played.
If she evolves, sometimes Sabor can come down like on the play when you're going first and just annihilate. She can just take down like so many, because she's like 3 for 1 somebody. But it looks like Esh is gonna go for a face play here, get a Razor Claw into a Belphegor.
Yeah, it looks to me like Esh is really just saying, hey, you couldn't deal with that, so this is like the one chance I get to play Belphegor. I'm going for it.
Right, so it's like a little mixture play. Levi, small Levi, top decked for Patina, and now he has the option to evolve this into the Belphegor, throw the Halo Golem face. I mean, there's already in Vengeance. There's no way you're gonna heal Essia out of Vengeance, right?
Ooh, I gotta say, this is looking like I can never really say this because Wizardess of Oz, sometimes you play her and she just doesn't, she's just not in the mood, she just doesn't feel like drawing anything. But Fatina has like enough damage to set Essia to like 4 in there, so really likely I'm thinking that he just manages to run away with this one.
Yeah, this is actually kind of scary for Essia. He has no way to heal now. Crimson Sorcery puts him at 4. I don't think Oz can find anything that kills though. I don't think.
4? Oh, he has what he needs.
I am a
Just-
fiction,
Yeah.
a falsehood.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that was strict lethal.
or at least
No,
I think
it was one I'm.
yeah.
What am I on? I have no idea what I'm on. I was looking at
think
the
we
deck
just-
list.
yeah.
I saw
You
4
count
4
out-
play point Halo Golem.
You can't add all the damage
This
in the
is
hand,
legal
it's hard to
next
say
turn.
like it was dead.
Fictions will
For
save
sure.
you. Give it to me again.
So I think Essie's only particular out here is gotta play the Sabura this turn to go up to 4.
It literally
and
has
then,
to play support. I don't know if you evolve it though. You can't just remove the Oz with spells.
I'm feeling that. I also think Razor Claw, even though Fatina's at half health, usually Razor Claw or something really helps you finish things off there, but you just can't touch it. It's not in his hand.
Yeah, there's no way you Razor Claw there. And hit lethal.
Oh.
Yep. I told
Yep.
you it was 100% lethal. I told you.
Yep. At the end of the day, who would win? 2 Sabrurs healing you for 4 health throughout the game, or just 2 Halo Golem boys?
Or just 2 Halo boys.
2 Halo boys. That was all
The caster
3 in
curse,
like the
man.
top
I'm
15
never
cards.
wrong with
Fatina really
top-
wanted that.
Promise. Poor Essia.
Tough matchup every time. It really just went kind of the way that we discussed. It's so tough for Blood to actually figure out its plan throughout the game there.
Kind of rare to see Blood, Vengeance Blood have, it's such a one-sided matchup. I feel. I think that's probably one of their worst matchups actually.
Well, at the very least, Essia's not going to have to deal with that anymore now. The same kind of a Blood list versus Aggro Shadow. I have no idea, actually, because of my, as you asked me before, I've not been familiar at all with the sudden resurgence of Aggro Shadow. You saw me yesterday, I was playing nothing but skeletons. It was a joke. Okay, I meant all my skeleton
Not a
jokes
real
in good humor.
Shadowcraft main, right?
Yeah, I'm not actually a skeleton. I don't actually think the deck is good, but
Whoa,
here it
Mofu,
is.
Mofu. We didn't ask for your life story, okay? Look, this is very easy. There it is, right there to reassure it. This comes down to literally, can Esha draw 3 Diabolic Drains? And if he can't, he's probably dead.
The Diabolic Drain is pretty amazing in this matchup. So for the knowledge I do have of Aggro Shadow, assuming it hasn't really changed much its strategy since the old days, is it desperately, and I mean desperately needs to get its opponent to exactly 13 health by the time it hits turn 6, because
It's actually
as the
it's
Japanese
11.
call it.
It's 11.
Oh yeah, it's 11. I think it exaggerates a bit every single
5
time.
plus 4 plus 2.
But if it can't reach that, then decks like this don't really have any other source of getting that damage in. It might have this really strong option with Cerberus Howl for the 11. I think my brain just was so afraid of it. It just was oh, 13 damage. Actually, it just does 25 or something.
Yeah, 29 for sure. Just OTK.
It just one shots your opponent,
It's a giant chimera for 6 play points. Yeah.
Yeah. But aside from that, Aggro Shadow's never received anything else that actually pushes your opponent into the dirt like that.
Well, I mean, I disagree a little bit. Rabbit Necro gets them there. We did see it just play 3 play point 3/2. When it dies, does 2 damage to the opponent's face. And you have to kill it. It's aggressively statted. You can't let it hit you in the face, right? There's also, a card that he's not playing that you played yesterday, so you should know about this. Cursed Soldier does 4 face.
Very true.
If you have enough shadows, right?
I'm gonna be honest though, I put Cursed Soldier in my deck just because it has skeleton in its artwork.
Oh yeah, no, I know you did. Yes, it is. It's a massive
It's
skeleton.
literally
That's
the only reason.
Lesser Mummy, even. It does gain Storm if there are 4 shadows available, which there will be after this Goblin dies. Never mind evolving the Goblin. Oh my gosh.
Alright, so Tina's gonna try to get in there. I mean, you don't really need Cerberus and Howl until you actually hit turn 5 and 6, but if he doesn't draw it, then I think we're gonna see that this
Drain.
deck can get really close.
Second
just,
drain
like-
is actually really important. Oh, there's no
Yeah.
ward though. Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.
Gonna be okay though. We can evolve.
Okay. So, gets the board back. Fatina, not really in any sort of threat of losing anytime soon. Has a couple of turns of taking damage for him to find his own damage. But, we see the Rabbit Necromancer, the Lesser Mummy. I think that's actually going to be close to it. He can set it up with Lyriel. Just get the damage
Actually,
he needs
no.
without ever having to get bored.
He can't. He can't, my dear Mofu. The damage he does this turn is actually negative.
That's true. It's my old aggro shadow speaking. Just look straight at their face. They can never heal. Not like this.
No, wait.
Mhm.
No, wait. No, wait. It's not negative. Because Lyriel got suicided. Esha, no! There's no target for Diabolic Drain. Fatina's gonna have 6 damage.
I think I missed the brilliance of that. I was showing the setup and everything, and I was thinking, oh no, he's just gonna Diabolic Drain it away.
I led you astray. I'm sorry, Mofu. I, as your friend.
That's okay. My
Led you down
skeleton
the wrong
mastery was
path.
speaking to me.
I'm so sorry.
You set me up. So, Lesser Mummy,
Was all a
Evo
ruse.
point.
Who could have guessed? You know, you were talking about 11 damage for 6 play points. Fatina's gonna settle for 6, and it's gonna be good enough.
Mm-hmm. Man. Animated Lesser Mummy. The thing that I love, that I learned through playing Aggro Shadow all the time, is there are some bronze cards in this game that just like, you'd think mostly for just like the kind of low importance throwaway followers, or just like in the bronze with very simple effects that they wouldn't really have these like complicated evolution arts. But some of them just have like completely
Ooh.
different artworks when you evolve them.
Esha really contemplating that Ambling Wraith. He's gonna extra kill himself.
Is there anything in particular he set himself up for by doing that? Just like theoretically?
I'm really not sure. The difference between 6 and 5 is difficult. I mean, realistically, there are 3 Phantom Howls in this deck, so I would not have made that play in a million years. Would not have put
Mhm.
myself... I guess there was an Evolve left anyway, so it didn't really matter. I don't really know why, though, he wanted him at 5 instead, but whatever. That's going to be the win for Fatina, the quick 2-0-2 aggro decks going in, Mofu. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh.
Good stuff. Like Aggro Shadow, I guess it's just working. It's not skeleton
Yeah, dude,
themed,
it's good again.
unfortunately.
It's great. It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy with that because I think Aggro Shadow is
I'm
like
not.
it's one of those aggro decks that doesn't really have that much burn damage. It still has to
Beats
kind
these
of push
shifts. I'm not
through.
happy about that at all. Let's see what the desk thinks of that. Exo, what do you think of that?
Yeah, let's see what the desk has to say.
I think that was purely Fatina knowing exactly what he was targeting, playing the actual best 2 decks against Vengeance Blood that you actually can. In history, we've seen Phantom Howl style decks just beat up on Vengeance Blood, and especially Dirt Rune with its access to infinite burn, essentially, and putting yourself into Vengeance is not what you want to be doing, which is what the deck needs to do.
Really kind of decks that have a strong burst of damage out of hand.
Yep.
Especially post kind of that turn 4, you know, that play point 4 phase where they are somewhat incentivized to put themselves in Vengeance.
Right.
Really starts to hurt.
Plus, we see cards like Rabbit Necromancer just doing work against cards like Diabolic Drain, negating all of the powerful effects that Diabolic Drain can set you up for the following turns, and just saying, you know what, you gain no life, I can keep going face, my game plan hasn't changed.
It's such an interesting card. I mean, both. So there's 3 cards that return here that are of note to me. There's the Lesser Mummy, the Orthrus, and the Rabbit Necromancer. These 3 aggressive set Shadowcraft cards have been kind of pushed to the wayside as Mid Shadow has risen. And then now, bring back Aggro Shadow, you see these come back into play, and there's just so much good damaging kind of effects that they bring with them. We got to see the whole gamut of what it has to offer.
I talked last week about Lesser Mummy. That hasn't fallen off of my radar. I love me some Lesser Mummy, okay? Orthrus, we've been seeing come back in a big way over the course of even yesterday and last week and things like that. Orthrus is back. It's a good aggressive card. It helps you build tempo, and Shadow's really hard to deal with in the early game. You don't want to trade with their followers more often than not.
Yeah, tough matches for Essia. Have to take the loss there, and Fatina continuing to demonstrate just why he is kind of one of the front runners, just behind Akamaru Red.
Absolutely.
Here.
I think that if we're talking about research and development through the stages of this round robin, I feel like Fatina is the deck builder you want to be watching, and Akamaru Red is like the precision player that you want to be watching.
Yep. I'm really curious to see if they're going to meet each other again in the finals of this playoffs and see how that spins around. But I believe we actually have the opportunity to get to talk to Fatina just a little bit here. So Fatina, if you are on the line, let's have a little bit of a chat. How are you doing, my friend?
Well, I'm fine because the loss last week was very painful for me. Well, I lost against the Russian roulette as Elena plus Satomi. He's tried to make a huge cheese on me and won like that. So
well, yeah, and I saw you were really down about that, but you had some really good lists lined up today against Essia. How do you prepare for your matches? And especially today, you did so well. What went into your preparation, and how did you get ready for it?
Well, last season I have some issue because I tend to shock because I fear people play anti-combo deck against me. So they was very stressed about that. So before this season, I choose one lineup before for each of my opponents. Right before the NGE, so I know what I will play versus Spain, I know what I will play versus Bad already, even if I don't really prepare for that. And now I don't really mind, I just go, okay, I stick with my plan, and I hope I was right 3 weeks ago.
Well, it certainly was absolutely on the dot against Essia. A question for you, the round robin is you're submitting decks individually for your opponents, and then when you play in a bracket, you just have to take one lineup all the way through the whole tournament. Which do you think you're better at? Is there one format that you're more comfortable with, or is there one that you're less comfortable with? What do you think about the differences?
Well, I'm very bad with round robin actually because I'm not like Akamaru Red that is very good with meta in general, so he can play meta deck and destroy everyone with that. Also, it's very on point with the way he play. For me, I'm very specific player, so I can't play every type of deck. So I have very small range of deck I can play in round robin, so I'm more easier to counter actually. Because, for example, everyone knows that I'm very combo player, so it's very easy to prepare against me. So round B is very difficult for me. I prefer very open lineup because it's very hard to counter triple combo in open bracket because almost nobody can play that actually.
Well, Fatina, I think that's actually a really good point. You're one of the smartest players in my mind when it comes to kind of countering your opponents and figuring out how to play your style the best against what your opponents bring. How did you kind of learn to play Shadowverse competitively? Who are the people that support you? I believe you were on Crimson Fencers. Is that still the case? Where does your support live?
Well, I won't talk about the team right now because there's some issue and there will be some official statement soon, so I won't talk about that. But most of the time I prepare myself, but doing a lot of stuff and analysis. Like I watch, I don't watch each tournament, but I try to stick and see the meta very thoroughly. So I take a review of each tournament that take place in Japan, each tournament that take place in Western side with Battlefy, analyze each deck and what I can play, what I can't play, and do my strategy around that.
Awesome. Well, super happy to get the chance to talk to you. Great to finally be able to connect, and good luck for the rest of the round robin tournament. And I hope you can have a very strong run in the regional finals, Fatina. But let's move on with the show a little bit here. So that was Fatina. I don't believe we've ever got to actually talk with him before.
Not that in depth.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear some of the things he had to say, saying he's not very strong in the round robin phase and his reasoning behind it, even though we think something back here behind the desk. It's just nice little, yeah.
It's interesting. I think it's just a perspective thing, right? Because he says, I'm not strong in the round robin because I can't play necessarily consistent meta decks that Akamaru knows how to understand and refine to the top level, right? Which is really one of Akamaru's strengths.
It is.
He takes the most popular decks and plays it better than the best players.
Right, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Whereas Fatina identified, I just know how to play counters, so I'm really looking to play against my opponent, which from our perspective is, okay, that's the round robin
that's
for
the
you,
round robin
right?
for you.
For
yeah.
his perspective, he's like, oh, but it's not the consistent meta deck, so
Right.
I'm uncomfortable. So
Right.
really, really interesting, but
Yeah.
very insightful. Fighting one of the best players, I think,
Absolutely.
in competitive Western Shadowverse. But let's kind of move on to the next match here. Best Marmot versus Kionis. Now, this is a very interesting match here.
Yes.
Both have had their troubles. You know, they're not having the best track record in the season so far, but there's still a lot of time. There's still a lot of opportunity for them to claw their way back and kind of still make it into the regional finals. Absolutely. But they definitely have been having to learn and craft their playstyle and kind of figure things out. Kionis, I think, combined with technical issues too, he's been having trouble with connection and whatnot. So let's see if either of these players can put it together and make a strong performance here. Let's talk about some of the high level overview of the decks right now, Exo. What are we expecting here?
Yeah, so Kionis is bringing Aegis and Control Blood. Not what we usually see from Kionis. Usually we see a little bit more combo. He shifted to aggro for a little bit and things like that. So he's kind of all over the place, but I think that a slow thinking man's deck is in his favor as long as there's not a lot of animations to go through, right? We have seen that be his trouble in the past. And Best Marmot today is bringing Mid Shadow and PDK, so meta decks. I think that's a good choice for Best Marmot this week, mostly because, again, and I think this is going to encapsulate the matchup as a whole, he's been kind of struggling in the first couple weeks of round robin. I think he needs to find his footing, and playing good decks that he feels comfortable with is probably the best way to do it. And as far as the matchups are concerned, I want to see who can actually step up today. So I'm not going to say anything other than that until we see the match.
All right, well, let's take a look at some of the decks here. The one that I want to dive deeply into is a Havencraft deck here. Havencraft, for a lot of people, I feel like they want to play it, but they're actually kind of struggling to make something that's consistent.
Yes.
Right? We've seen a variation of White Wing decks. Gruda's kind of out of there. Neutral is not a thing anymore.
Right.
And even kind of control-oriented, like Seraph Aegis stuff, doesn't seem super appealing. Of course
It's kind of like a tech choice as
Yes.
opposed to like a deck idea now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the Havencraft deck that Kionis is running, and the featured card here is Princess Snow White, introduced in Wonderland Dreams. Now, this is a card that was incredibly strong when it first came out.
Absolutely.
Right, but talk to us about how it works now and kind of what are the benefits of running this card. It is kind of a low-cost, low-stat card, but
It is.
how does it work, Exo?
So you gain some advantage off of it. So in this little tiny form of a 2-play point 1/2, when she dies, she comes back evolved into a 2/2. So you get some extra stats with her, and the other cool thing that she can do is if you evo her and then attack, it will then trigger the same effect. So you can get 4 damage out of her. It is possible with an evo point use. So really, players are aiming to use this deck if they want the game to go long. If they want options against aggro to kind of like pick apart a few things in the early game so that they don't have to deal with it. Maybe make their Black and Scriptures a little bit better to take out some 4 defense followers and things like that. You're not looking to get aggressive with Snow White, and it can last through a Themis' Decree to kind of poke afterwards as well. So,
Yeah, and really in my eyes, Snow White to me as a 2-drop is actually the perfect drop to take down a 1 defense follower and a 2 defense follower,
Absolutely.
especially if you're going second, right? Because then you swing once, you swing twice, and you can perfectly take them out. But here's a deck as a whole here, and we've got, it's kind of a more interesting mix here. He's got the Aegis at the end game, and then he's just got Lucifer in there. The Ether of the White Wing is included, and it seems like mostly what it's pulling is Cleric Lancer. Talk to me about what the big overview is for this particular deck. What is the strategy here for Kionis?
well, this is an Aya Senpai style deck right here. This is late game Aegis control. Again, you don't need to play multiple Aegis anymore because Aether of the White Wing exists and it's just a lot more flexible. Lucifer's there because there's not really a turn that you want to play Aether of the White Wing before you get to that Aegis turn. So it's kind of a hedge. On turn 8, you not really want to play Aether of the White Wing because do you really want to go all the way back down to Cleric Lancer with it on that play point usage? Not really. Lucifer comes down, gains you a bunch of health, can act as a win condition as we talked about, but really it's a stall deck looking to get Aegis out and win with it.
So we'll see how that performs here. Out of the decks that we see on Best Marmot's side with PDK and Mid Shadow, do you think that those decks are slow enough that Heavenly Aegis will become a problem for them?
I can't say so. I think Aegis is still a little iffy right now, especially when you're not coupling it with cards like Taurus and more tempo-oriented cards, as I've talked about in weeks past. But we'll see. I mean, if you have the right knowledge behind what you're planning on doing, like if you're playing Aegis, you're planning on playing against things like Shadow, mid-Shadow specifically. It's one of the most played decks in the tournament right now. He feels like he can win with it. So I'm going to put it on Keonis that he knows what he's doing this week, and he's got his game plan ready.
We'll see. We'll have Envy and Mofu take us to the moment-to-moment between Keonis and Best Marmot.
Control Haven, Control Dragon, Mid Shadow, and a reactive, control-y, or at least somewhat with the Bahamut copy, PDK list. I'm finding a hard time putting a coin on either of these players because I think it's going to be a while before we actually see who ekes out this one.
I don't know. I feel like I agree with Exo a little bit, and Rainey mentioned this too. Some Best Marmot's plays in the past couple weeks have been. It seemed like he had a lack of practice with his list. I like that he's bringing, PDK Dragon. He's bringing. I think his D shift got banned, so he's got Mid Shadow. So I like these lists, dude. It's like really, really difficult to these lists are very, very powerful on their own. It's really, really difficult to not see like super optimal plays with these every turn. So we'll see how that goes, right?
Just focus down. Probably going to be able to get through it. Except I think the only problem that I foresee for him is that when you play against decks that are as control-y as Haven, the sheer amount of wards it's got, and Dragon with how much it reacts to everything, it can be tough to actually know when you have to go in with lists like these, because it's not like he's just playing aggro.
Right. So aggro takes a tremendous amount of brain power. Okay, my dude.
It's a very high IQ.
So while his decks are great, right? Yeah, I'll agree. His matchups are terrible. His matchups are horrible. Control is just not something you want to see with mid. I guess mid-range Shadow, not so much. He didn't want to get his D-shift banned. I don't know. I mean, PDK is kind of okay. You got Bahamut, you got Fortes, you got your Dragon, right? You can do whatever you want. Your Dragon.
There's no rules for you. You're Dragon.
You're on 10 play points and they're on 5. You're Dragon. It's okay. It's fine.
That's it. That's like the punchline of playing Rowan.
Looks like we're gonna see Haven versus Dragon. Oh boy.
Yeah, we kept Themis. That
is
like
interesting.
Is that the trademark strategy of playing Haven versus PDK to kick Themis? I actually have no idea. I was not even aware that Haven existed as a class. That's mean.
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, thanks to the change to Prime Dragon Keeper, it can now be banished by Cudgel. So.
Very true.
Yeah, Keonis has multiple answers to those Prime Dragon Keepers. He is not letting that happen. Another great target for banishment right there, Ayala as well, so.
Right. The only thing that I ever noticed as a main trouble for any deck that has like solid answers to PDK now is I remember this was like true back in the day too, is you have an answer to Prime Dragon Keeper, so she's done, you don't have to deal with her anymore, then you just eat like Forte Erd. Like.
Oh yeah, you just take 21 damage from Fortes. Yeah,
joke's on you, buddy.
Keonis has a few safety measures for that, though. He is playing Cleric Lancers. He also has Lucifer. And then if he ever makes it to Aegis, Bahamut can't answer that. Like, that used to be, when Aegis was first a thing, that was like our answer to Dragon, was like, just play Aegis, man. They can't do anything to it. What do they do? They just cry about it. That's what they do.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. They just complained that the thing that
they did that exactly, yes. My Bahamut won't clear this.
Yeah, hey, can Enchanted Vines or Entangling Vines be permanent, please?
Well, Mr. Full Moon is an option now, but that's not, unfortunately, in a Marmot's deck for him. He's not going to have that as an option, so.
Well, Keonis does have one copy of Heavenly Aegis to start working that grind towards. That's actually the only copy in the deck, so we're not going to see it come out of an Ether or something fantastically flashy like that.
Which is actually worth noting. That means Ether can only pull. It doesn't pull itself, so it can only pull Cleric Lancers now.
Ooh, next biggest thing it seems like it pulls. Oh, it doesn't pull neutral things, does it? Right.
No, it doesn't pull neutrals. No, only pulls Havencraft followers. If it pulled neutrals, if it pulled Lucifer, oh my gosh.
Yo. What an interesting card, though.
I think Ether's already good enough, Mofu. Let's not give Side Games ideas to buff this card, alright?
Hey, can it also actually pull like 3 things at one time? It's just an idea.
Oh yeah, that sounds totally. Yeah, don't even change don't even change the play cost. Don't change the stats on it. Let it pull 3. Let it fill your board actually. Even just fills your whole
Yeah.
board with 3 Aegises and a Taurus. That's a great idea. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. I think that's what Haven really needs to get in there again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, good. Yeah, totally. Definitely.
Right, interesting pass from Best Marmot there. A lot of players, I think, are usually tempted to try to go for the Dragon Oracle and ramp themselves up into Overflow, but I think he notices probably running out of cards in hand here. His Staircase is far from actually popping, so maybe just trying to save it up so that he can get that draw.
I do also agree with getting card draw. This is a grindier matchup, and you need to have actual ways to finish the game if he just comes down on curve on that 9 play point turn. And then also, I mean, let's be real here. If Kionis had just killed the Ayala, which he probably wouldn't have, if he hadn't banished it but had killed it instead, then Marmot would be in Overflow this turn and could cash that in. That Oracle could go in and trade and draw a card, but it was banished. It's a pretty good banish. I actually like that banish a lot. So
yeah, I'd say that was a solid banish. Actually, it's just for all the reasons you described. It's like this is really the one class in Haven that like actually has enough simple access to the banish as a mechanic that Ayala she's so good against every other class.
oh yeah,
but Haven just kind of shrugs her off really.
She does nothing against Haven. So Marmot, I think, is going to be on the plan of popping this Staircase ASAP. Tosses in a Dragoon Scyther on a 4/5 Cudgel.
Yeah, he's like, I think he's feeling here that just a couple more turns and it's going to get out of hand for him. That just Kainos already has this massive card advantage so far. Hasn't really had a chance to ramp that much. Doesn't have any solid threats he can put down. He just wants more cards out of this Staircase.
Exactly. Not to mention the Beast Call Aria was popping, so if he didn't answer that board in any way meaningful, if that Cudgel was still on the board now, it could go face. That bird could evolve face. Next thing you know, you're at 8 life. What do?
Their opponent drops an Aegis. What do you have? A PDK?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's
very hard to get aggressive when your opponent has you at half your life total, so.
Though, I'm seeing Kionis both kept them as drew another one. I'm like, so the game plan of PDK is usually to just try to get enough chip over time with PDKs that your opponent just finished off by Forte and the like. But if he can't mount a board that sticks or a PDK that gets in there, if he can't push through wards for the entirety of the game, then even if this Staircase pops, what's Marmot really aiming for here if he wants to get over this?
Well, Marmot's aiming for Fortes, but these Cleric Lancers are going to stop that. Especially, this one won't live, because Dragoon Scythe is going to take care of that pretty promptly. But the next one's going to come down from the Ether, and it's going to stop Forte even more. So,
So would you say that Kionis is actually in like a really good position here? How much of an advantage is this? Because like as I mentioned before, I don't have much experience with PDK. I don't know what's really going through Marmot's mind or like what he's thinking of how he's gonna get through all this.
Well, and it's kind of easy, to guess. Dragoon Scyther's got to take out that ward. There's no other way to kill it outside of evolving your Forte or throwing in Forte. Ugh, never mind. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, it poses no threat immediately, so that's not super terrible. You are popping Staircase next turn as well, and you're on 9 play points, so you've got plays. But the closer we get to 9, the closer we get to that Aegis, 9 for Kionis, not 9 for Marmot. He's already there.
Right.
9 for Kionis. That's again something that Dragon can't answer. So.
So, very curious to go for that. Breath of the Salamander, not really dealing with the body and Ether. Here's an effect that is not very often focused on, not even one I mentioned. Everyone looks at her and just sees a card that pulls followers out of the deck, but she buffs up any leftover followers by 1 defense as well.
It is kind of a nonchalant kind of buff. It's like, yeah, by the way.
Yeah, Lyella, by the way.
It does seem kind of random, very appreciated, obviously. It's going to give, health to that other Cleric Lancer that had lost 1, but yeah, that's 13 effective health on the board, added to the 18 you've got. You're sitting at 31 life. There's just so much that Haven can do. 2 Themises can stall the board until Aegis is available. That last evolved board is going to stay there probably until Aegis happens. And it's not looking good for Marmot.
Yeah, it's tough. I think he has like a way to bust through. so he can send in one of the Dragoon Scythers, and he has an overflow, so Master of Draconic Arts can just like evolve, square up, and just one-shot the other one. But he only has 2 Evo points, and Kionis is still really healthy here.
That is true. Bane down 1, evolve, and like you said, square up.
Yeah, look at this. Full Evo stats. His eyes just like light up. Here it is.
It's that clash when he's in overflow. Gains 4 attack per attack. Like, if you attack it more than once, it'll keep gaining that 4 attack. So if you don't watch it, then you could be treading with a 13-13.
I think that's such a cute, like, little +1/+1 he gave it to. He's kind of like did the same thing as Kionis. It's like, I too have a ward that gains like a ton of attack.
It's kind of awkward. You don't really want to evolve this turn. You don't have to, though. You can just play Star Torrent into Tribunal here. Get the full trade. Don't even have to Tribunal, actually. Angel of the Word. Good card, too.
Right. I was actually a little curious about that. I'm used to seeing Angel of the Word used in super aggressive lists just because any card that can get like efficient and simple damage aimed anywhere, including face, is usually appreciated in aggro and the like. But every so often I see like a control or grindy list play it for just reasons like that.
Definitely. And Marmot recognizes that he finally has a chance to get aggressive right before the Aegis comes down. Kionis is only on 8. He can't do it. Could do Themis, but another Forte coming down.
Yeah, that's... If we look at his list, I think the Cleric Lancers are his only method of defending himself. He doesn't play anything like Heavenly Hound in this list. That's it. So he has another one in his deck. His 25-card deck he's going to need to look for if he wants to be completely safe from Forte.
Sure is a lot of Storm. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Ah, it's so much Storm! Oh, no!
So, 7 damage. There's a lot Marmot can look for here that would help set up the rest of it, but does he have the time? Aegis, a clock, is coming upon us.
Double Civil instead of going in. I think... Double check before I misspoke. Marmot's Dragon. Do you know if he runs Erd? I don't know if he runs Erd in this Dragon. He does. He runs 1.
He
runs
copy.
Singleton, yes.
Alright. We can kind of, judging from this position, be like, if he draws Erd, then that's the only thing that can get him out of here. Because he has, like, a close estimate of damage, but... Well, actually, even with Erd, it would take 2 turns regardless to get that damage in as Kionis clears here.
Right, it's not quite doable. However, Marmot did put Kionis in a weird spot. Aegis is not actually playable or you die, so...
Right.
To Erd, assuming Erd exists. So Themis is actually to come down this turn to the first Themis of the game. And to probably just Angel of the Word, I imagine.
Seems like the safest thing to hedge against here.
That does toss your only answer to... Ooh, never mind. Okay. Wow.
Wow. I picked that up from you completely ever since I heard that.
It's so perfect. It fits the situation perfectly. He's not playing around the exact 2 cards in Marmot's hand that would give Marmot lethal.
That's unfortunate. But
that actually is unfortunate. Yes, it's exactly lethal with the cards in Marmot's hand right now. Well, I mean, you know, Storm is good. Storm is a great keyword, and he's gonna get lethal with it. Forte, Dragoon Scyther. Poor Kionis goes for it and falls short. Oh no.
Yeah, you see Kionis with the Klappa there. Well, I can't say that I really disagree with the Aegis, to be completely honest. He's like, you know what, I want to win this game, and he just decides to slam it as soon as he can. He's probably just thinking,
playing to win instead of playing not to lose, right? So
yeah.
I agree with you. I think that was a good play. I don't know. Maybe going for like the Tin Soldier, snipe one of them, attack with the cudgel on one of them, and then hit the other one, and go face for one. You know.
4 play points left after that.
Yeah, 4 play points left.
Still just Angel of the Word.
Even Tribunal one of them, right? Go face with cudgel even. You know, you don't die to exactly Forte, Dragoon Scyther. Oh well, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, hindsight, we have perfect information, so of course we knew the perfect play, right? But
right.
Poor Kionis.
So Yeah. Tough situation. He did his best to play to his outs and just ended up taking it anyway. I guess like even with the solid defense he had of double Cleric Lancer, that's one of those things to watch for when you're playing against Dragon is just they have 3 Dragoon Scythers. They don't really care about how big your boards get.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mofu, talk to me about Pure-Hearted Singer. What do you think of Pure-Hearted Singer?
Well, I think we actually talked about this card before, even like when the expansion had just come out. I at first actually didn't believe in it, because I thought that for a follower to really get it in Shadowverse, with how fast this game can be, it had to have really, really good stats. But, just the quality of a neutral card like this, pretty fast too, just being a 3-cost card, just gives you that +1 in card advantage. I think just seeing it, I've seen it like in so many decks so far, it's just proven itself really as really effective.
Yeah, it's insane. You know, I was harping on it. I was like, I love this card. It's one of my favorite cards now. I love it so much. It's 3 play point, 1/2 draw 2. Sounds good. Love it.
Yeah. Something I noticed about it is like it's not leaving for a while for the future of Shadowverse really. It's Starforged Legends. It's gonna be around for like the next year, and that actually makes me really happy because it, as a neutral card that's kind of agnostic in how it works. It's just a fanfare and last words. It means like everyone kind of gets this access to being able to cycle through their decks. It supports so many different things.
Very, very neat. Has neutral synergy on all that stuff. Interesting attack with the Snow White though. Is he gonna attack it again? No, Angel the Word. Okay, player like yeah. I didn't see it hiding over there.
Right, just playing for the board on that one. Or not willing to throw away that Blackened Scripture against Shadow.
Right, Banish is a very powerful mechanic against both Ayala and the entirety faction of Shadow. So.
Anyway, manages to cash in that extra card here. I'm thinking that in a matchup like this, that Aegis doesn't really cause as much of a threat to mid Shadow, just because against mid Shadow, what you really, really want to do is not just win in the war of who gets to put a threat down, but you have to kind of keep Shadow's board clear for the entirety of the game, because they just go completely out of hand.
Right. Thane into anything really into Aegir, but Thane himself also as well. Ceres as well. An incredible play for 4 play points. Talk to me about that card, Mofu. What do you? I mean, obviously, you think Ceres is good. Do you think it's good in this matchup? Like, he can't even kill it right now. So.
Like in this specific matchup, it's very interesting because Haven usually doesn't rely too much on needing followers. It's not like I played a Ceres and I cleared your board. It's like Haven's like the one class that's like, yeah, it's okay, whatever. A lot of other classes like Blood, for example, just gets absolutely blasted by that. But in this situation, he's pretty comfortable. Just plays a Cleric Lancer. He's like, all right, you got me.
All right. I guess neither of us can attack each other. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It does present a very interesting situation. He's got 3 of them in hand as well. He could just keep playing them every turn. If you keep playing them every turn, eventually you're going to heal 6 every turn, and your opponent has to start killing them, right? But, you know, Themis can take care of all 3 at once, so.
Yeah. There's a time where I started referring to this card as the Sybil of... Ooh. Oh, never mind. I started referring to it as like the Sybil of Shadow because of just how well it dealt with aggro. I thought for a second that he was going to go in with that Belinus and try to get the hit on the Cleric Lancer and snipe the 2-1. But going to save his Evo point. It's smart. I like it.
I like that play as well. He's got the Cudgel on the Kiona side, though. It's not good at all for Marmon. All of his stuff's going to get banished this game. That's not fun, right?
Not for a class like this. Absolutely not.
Double Bone Chimera banish. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I
Still
woke up
has
this morning still
Prince
role-playing as a
Catacomb,
skeleton.
Yeah. Skeleton plan, yeah. You know what it's like to play skeletons? Yeah, totally.
So this hurts. I take this as like personal offense. If this hits the Bone Chimera, I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
and it did. Wow.
Of course, it's not random. Of course, it's a Bone Chimera. Come on.
No, I'm like, that's offensive to me that he decided to choose it on the Bone Chimera, not something else.
Oh yeah, okay,
But,
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely best play. Just accepts
Rip.
that Belinus has 2 good targets there.
Belinus has great targets there. Even hits the best one. The Ward was the best one, I think, honestly.
My role-playing aside, it was absolutely correct to banish that Bone Chimera for the explicit purpose that getting the 2 skeletons out there would have been like Belinus going off twice. 2 really clean trades.
Really clean trades. Notice Ceres coming down the second evolve. Obviously, Ceres, you know, still getting that value.
You think he holds the zombie party here or wants it next turn? Because he's got a Thane in hand. He's in a pretty good spot.
Well, I mean, you kind of have to, if you get rid of both your 7 play point plays, you kind of have to wonder that you draw something else. I guess you could do it. Yeah, I actually like passing. I like having the flexibility, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Very bad draw for Kionis. Gets a Snow White. Not quite useful this late in the game. Tribunal can easily take care of the series, though, so...
I think what we're noticing here is that, like, Mid Shadow is a list that can perfectly, happily just kind of sit and play the long game. Because with, like, I guess I didn't really mention this about Ceres before, rather than how she deals with aggro, but she gives Shadow this way to just kind of last. Outside of, like, Kawi, they didn't really have a method of healing before, and she just applies it in chips, but now, it's like, hitting turn 7 is really when Shadow gets aggressive, but even now he can't really push hard enough, I think, to force Kionis into, like, committing anything too much.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting play also. The previous turn, Snow White's actually going to be able to trade with a zombie here.
This song's for you.
Not before Pure-Hearted Singer, though. Even a Cudgel drawn. Ooh, oh gosh.
It's a pretty solid cudgel. It is his last presently active access to banish, so there's a lot of cards you could probably be watching for, such as Thane and the like, if you want to save it.
Oh, nice. Crystals of snow. Shimmer.
You do also clear the board completely for Aegis, though, so I think it's probably the correct play. You're at full life, but can he just save you from an Aether board, right? I don't know. The
I
tough
guess
choice.
it can be kind of complicated. So he's got 6 shadows. You got 2 zombies, and there's no way for them to die. So it's not like Ictor's gonna summon some more zombie boys. I'd say it's a pretty tough decision. I think he can live through it. Just as it comes down
Right,
to
yeah,
how
I
afraid he is.
If you banish one of them, they don't go to 8 shadows, so Aether doesn't trigger, actually, so...
Like his
We will
thinking pose, I
see.
do that a lot myself.
Yeah, I like it, I like it.
He's got that anime look, the shine in his glasses.
He just needs to push them up and they glint. All according to K-Cock.
Like, you can see the shine of his monitor. He'd totally do that if you push them up.
They would, yeah.
Going for it.
Ah, does he evolve, though? Ah, he does. Okay, alright. I like it. Honestly, I like it. You play really safe this way, so...
I think, ultimately the line of thought here might just sound something like, I don't really want to, or if I self-insert as Kionis here, I don't really want my opponent to just have that damage from Ictor. Then I have to deal with the 5/6. So figures, you just can use it now, force Marmot to use his Evo reactively, and then just slam Heavenly Aegis next turn if he slows down for it.
And realistically, even if Ictor, or this even, comes down, you've got Themis to fall back on. You can wipe all of these off the board, so... It's not even that big of a deal, honestly.
It's a pretty good cash-in on that Themis, too, because, like, the Pure-Hearted Singer doesn't really have any particularly great trades it can go for. It can work with the Red Hot Boots, but even that is just clearing a single token.
It does let the board get flipped around, though. Thane's going to come down, but Thane is not nearly as threatening as these 4 2/2s are, so... I don't know, maybe you do Aegis, maybe. I don't know, do you respect Aegis here, Mofu? Do you?
Like, remember last game when he was in a situation where he was under threat and he went for Aegis? I was about to say, I'd like to see him do it again because that's, that shows so much dominance, but I think he's actually learning from it. He's like, I'm not going to risk anything. I'm going to wait for it to be safe
wasn't
this
lethal
time.
there. Oh gosh, that top deck. Oh my god.
Oof.
It was only 18 damage. It's 4 times 4 plus 2. Yeah, it was only 18 damage.
Right. Looks like Canis just doesn't want to play around the only 18 damage there. He's like, oh, man.
Doesn't want to get a 2 life in one combo, I guess.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he doesn't have the answers for this Thane. This Thane is insanely good.
He can kick it in the face and then scripture it, but that is resources right there.
Okay, so he snipes 1 here. Alright.
Okay. I see 2 lines of play. He could either decide now to just throw the Aegis at any point, in any one of these turns he could just decide he's impatient and just really want to go for that, get it down. But at the same time, if he wants to go for like a Red Hot Boot Scripture, deny the White King, he still has enough left over and just enough board space to put down March Hare's Tea Time.
Aegis.
There it is. Probably
Jonas
figuring at this
down.
point.
Ugh, this is gonna be... Oh gosh.
Yeah, we're looking at a lot of damage here. Thankfully, one of the whites was knocked out from this board by the Tribunal, so the zombies aren't all going to... Like, the rush zombies would effectively had Storm if they're all, like, trading into that with the 2 whites on them. Well, I
Right.
guess it wouldn't affect
Yeah,
the board.
yeah. That would have been really, really bad. And you do a lot still, though. Oh, gosh, no Eater. Okay, we're going to set up with Prince Cat. I like it a lot, actually. There's not really a way for an Aegis to kill you in one hit. It can't happen. So...
Probably a pretty good call here, knowing Kainos' list does not play Taurus. A lot of decks that play Ether actually do, but nope, not this time. So, goes for a board that this Aegis is never realistically going to have the time to deal with. One shot at a time, it just says, I got it before you got it. I got Ether.
Not to mention, even another Themis top deck doesn't even do anything, because now, you know, there are 3 zombies on the board. Well, I guess you get Themis and then... Not zombies, but skeletons. I guess you get Themis and then kill one of the skeletons as well.
That is possible. Ooh,
Star Torrent's also really great here. I also just realized that. You can Themis into Star Torrent, and that's fine.
Ooh. Ooh, I like that. I like
and
what
that's
you're saying.
actually the 2 cards that needed to happen. Oh my gosh. That's his 3rd Themis, I think, right? Isn't it?
I'd have to think about it, but I know it's definitely not the first one.
I'm 90% sure it's 3rd in the top 20 cards. Oh my gosh. What a swing play. Marmont. He's got the fear in his eye. He's got a white, though. It's going to get... We know it's going to get banished. Oh, God.
Yeah. I think that's that's the combo for getting rid of big things at Haven now. I think, like, aside from Tribunal and really just Tribunal is all I can think of really effective single target removal. Back in the day, they were really weak to anything that just could stay over 3 defense. But now they got that, like, boot to the head and scripture out of the room.
Oh, man, I feel bad for Marmot. He had such a good board, and then the 2 exact cards needed to answer the board happened. I swear that's a 3rd Themis. It's at least the 2nd, for sure, but I think it's the 3rd.
Yeah, and Themis on the wayside, just like the Star Torrent, just perfectly getting rid of whatever board setup he had. I think if anything, that's a really good testament to Star Torrent as a card. I know a lot of people don't believe in it, but there it is.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's literally just Angelic Barrage that doesn't hit face, so...
Sometimes, yeah.
That's why people don't believe in it, Mofu.
I think, like, yeah, that's really it, is like everyone remembers contextually Angelic Barrage not really being effective against anything. In hindsight,
now,
had
Red
he
Hunt's
evolved...
the blacken on the ward into Aegis on face. Oh my gosh, Mofu. Marmot can't catch any luck this game.
1-2 combo into the 8.
That's okay, though. Still got 1 game from both players. It's not over yet.
1-1 now. In hindsight, if he had evolved the White King preemptively to dodge that brutal 1-2 from the boot scripture, I think that actually left Kainos having to trade, but I don't know if it would have made a big difference. Or, yeah.
I think he Demon Eatered his board away, so he didn't have the damage on the board to Eater with, so, yeah.
Probably would have ended about the same. And not like he could have known to actually pre-evo to get around it. I just like thinking about it sometimes.
Right. Blood versus Shadow. Whew. This is, Mofu, do you play either of these factions? I don't think you do you?
Well, I'm now like the chief representative of Shadow role-playing, so, basically my new name.
How would you roleplay against a Blood player?
I wouldn't. I was actually like praying not to go against one. But I think that this is pretty tough sometimes for Shadow. I have like... It's one of those matchups where it's like, I don't think like a mid-Shadow list like this can very easily, or without jumping a lot of hoops, can get the damage to push like Control Blood all the way down. But at the same time, I've seen it happen a few times enough that I feel like it's not like appropriate to completely count them out.
Got Spawn. I don't know. Do you know if he has the one of Azazel?
I don't think so.
Oh, he doesn't. Aw, come on. You gotta have the one of Azazel.
Yeah, he's just chilling. He only plays 1 Spawn too.
Yeah, that was interesting. Still, this hand though. Kionis has all 3 evolves, so he's going 2nd. So if he's able to Belphegor into Righteous Devil, Belphegor into Diabolic Drain Righteous Devil is disgusting.
And Righteous Devil actually it's so interesting that you mentioned like plays like that, because that's what I previously remember as like the face of Bane and healing. And the ability to put into a deck both the Righteous Devil on a turn like that and also Scarlet Saber now existing is like, I think Control Blood's like main shtick now is just having this insane access to Bane, really.
Right, Bane is just, it's all over the place in the faction. Mostly Scarlet Saber is kind of just like the best option for it, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I honestly see some of them not even running. I like Righteous Devil is an insanely powerful card if you're able to evolve it while you're in Vengeance, obviously. The 4/7 stat line, very hard to get rid of, and has Bane, obviously. But I see a lot of people not running this card, so.
Mm-hmm. I think like some of the reasoning is that people feel that the card can be a little bit underwhelming after you've used all your evolution points, but at the same time, like this is Control Blood. What do you need to evolve? I don't think it in any recent lists, and not in Kionis's either, really has anything that it needs to use and evolve on. Nothing like Cudgel, like in Haven's comparison.
Marmot choosing to pop his Lurching Corpse instead of his Belinus there actually might be a bit. It might come back to bite him a little bit. That Lurching Corpse could have gotten rid of Belphegors, could have got rid of Righteous Devils. This might be,
now that you mention it, I do find that a little bit strange. It's like, so keeping together the Belinus on board really just gives him like two things an advantage over the Lurching Corpse that can trade, and it has a slightly higher stat line if he's trying to play super aggressively here. But the Lurching Corpse is an answer to like every other thing that Control Blood really starts to
everything. And the thing about super aggression is Kionis is comfortable enough to do 5 damage to himself. Like, he knows that he's not in any grave danger, right? So.
Right. Ugh, it's looking rough because, as you said, safe drop to 10 defense left, and next turn just has that open option of Diabolic Drain plus Righteous Devil.
Going for a Soul Squasher instead of a Series. Probably going to Bone Chimera also. And just go face for 1. And this is where we're going to feel it. We're going to see it. Righteous Devil, Diabolic Drain. Oh, gosh.
And that sweet spot, the 4 defense on the Skull Beast, right in that Diabolic Drain range. It's like, Kionis just completely shrugs this off, and Marmot is like, more or less out of steam, I think.
He just on the Series, gets the order right here, even though it didn't matter this time because he took an extra 3, but... Hopefully he doesn't attack first here.
That'd be really interesting if he held it. I feel like this is just the perfect situation. Oh, he holds it.
He holds it and doesn't even kill the 4 health follower even. Wow.
I saw him wipe his nose. I can't tell if
I
that
think he noticed it.
is...
Yeah, he noticed it, yeah. Kionis, unfortunately, is going to leave that Skull Beast alive. He's shaking his head. He knows he did that wrong.
That's right, and it's pretty unfortunate. I mean, he has a second way around this, right? Okay, he's really visibly showing this disappointment with himself, but like it's not really that bad, right? He has a Diabolic Drain and Saburo next turn.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, you are playing Control Blood. You do have options to things. You know, this is gonna get Bane's down. You still only take 4 here, and you heal for 4, so it's it's kind of okay.
Yeah, not that bad. Slice that out. Super the 2/2, leave only a single 1/1 body left on Marmot's board, heal back up to 11.
At least on this swing back, he actually can't miss this because Sabor can't heal him over Vengeance, so. Goes for the drain first anyway. Okay, I like it.
I was about to say it would crack me up if you played the Sabor first this time. Not that it would matter, but it's like, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I want to cash that drain in now. I'm going to make sure this goes off.
Right, so not going to evolve on that one. No reason to. Just add damage to Marmot's board. Alright, I think we're still in a similar situation to what I was talking about earlier. It's like, yeah, Kionis did kind of miss a Diabolic Drain on turn 4 there, but does it? He still got the healing. He's still got what he needs, I think.
Well, I mean, realistically, this is where Control Blood wants to be, right? Like, Control Blood, all they gotta do this turn is play Emeralda, pop that Series, go face, hit the 2/2 with something. You know, something's going on. Never mind, we can heal also. That's also true. Wow. Hungering Horde coming down on skeletons, though. I'm gonna full clear. Kionis going for a full respect play for Yggdra here.
Right. especially if he evolves here. I mean, not like he's gonna lose the Super in the trade here. Gosh, this does put Marmot in such a tough position. He's got a Eekter, he's got a trade, and then what's left? How do you win after that?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, Kionis is at 12, and how does Kionis kill that? He can't.
Mhm.
Oh, Emeralda, right? I just said that last turn. I'm a heckin' dummy. Oh my gosh.
Well,
That Skull Beast could have had Rush, Marmot.
have.
It could have
I
had
think
Rush.
he wanted
A
to keep it
useless
safe
amount
out
of
of danger.
Rush. Well, actually, not even useless. He could have kept the 2/2 on the board instead of that.
That is actually very true. But this is kind of cuter, right? Like, the Skull Beast is like a little dog, if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's like
I looked at the
Eater's
art
pet,
of all
yeah.
the skeletons very closely, and I didn't even really notice until now. It's just a dog. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's a dog with horns. I don't know what kind of dog that has horns, but
they probably exist. But as you pointed out, Emeralda makes very light of that threat. I'd say Kainos can really take his time with this. He's got a lot of threats, but
The top
Thane,
deck, though.
it is another threat.
that's a great threat. The second best threat in your deck. Honestly, the best threat in your deck, really. You've got no board. That's
Mhm.
that's a lot of pressure, insane out of nowhere. That's
It's like actually the best card he could have drawn, you're right.
Mask is pretty good. Mask can probably keep Kionis alive for one more turn so he can Bahamut.
Right. Now, I remember this was being like discussed heavily yesterday. What's your opinion on, do you think white is a skeleton? I don't mean to differ here, but I remember people telling me that I was cheating because I had whites in the skeleton deck.
I think that Thane is such a good card that, yes, he's an honorary skeleton.
Mm-hmm. It was the whites because it's like the debatable amount of flesh on him. But my insecurity about that aside, I think like in a situation like this, as I've been saying, Marmot doesn't really have that many possible good draws aside from Thane's. Really fortunate that he got one here, but the whites existing puts Kionis into Vengeance for any synergy he pleases.
That is true. He did have Blood Moon anyway, though, so. Lurching Corpse, not quite the best top deck.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of awkward to go face now with that mask on the board. Really weird.
Right. It doesn't really get him too far, but at the same time, with the pretty like short and unimpressive amount of burst that Shadow usually has, it's a class that usually relies on things like Eekter on a full board to actually get that damage in. It's like, how do you really deal with this mask? So he goes face here.
Very interesting. Okay, kind of hoping Kionis has no healing options, I feel like. The Temptress Vampire is perfect this turn. Just nom the Thane here.
Right. Honestly, I think this is the pace that I usually kind of notice this matchup swinging towards. It's like Mid Shadow is a deck that just doesn't give up. It's like there are a lot of draws between Eekter and Thane that just like present so much value at once that it can stand up for a long time against a control deck without really letting the control deck just take over. But I only really see Marmot's situation just getting worse and worse here.
Oh yeah, definitely. His situation realistically has been getting worse and worse as this has been going on. Really, like.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Even though he does keep getting great top decks, this is just gonna be, you can just Bahamut this board. The Bane is on the board. You know Marmot's options. You can just Bahamut them away. So.
Mm-hmm. And I guess like post Bahamut, that's really it for Marmot because there's nothing really in Shadow that just single-handedly deals with it. But gonna spare on that one. Revelation instead. Take it slow.
Interesting. You know, why not? Why not take it slow, right? Just play the spawn
is-
next turn.
Yeah, this is the comfy control blood sort of way of approaching this.
This is
Well,
the
that said-
ooh, doesn't even bother playing the Belinus. Okay.
Right. I imagine he holds the Belinus because he like really wants to get like a Demon Eater into some more threats, but I don't know. That's a resolved spawn.
That is a resolved
Good.
spawn. There's no Bahamuts in this deck. There's Soul Conversion. Got that.
That would have been a really tough draw otherwise. So hopefully Belinus just notices that 6/7 there, pings it. Good cards.
Got an Eekter.
but-
It's not quite amazing. I mean, realistically, that Ether could have given Rush almost to Lurching Corpse. I don't want to take that much damage, though.
Right. So I think, like, throughout the course of this game, we've more or less just kind of seen Best Marma draw all of his, like, power spikes of his 7-cost cards. We've seen 2 Ethers and a Thane. He could draw another Thane here. It's not like, well, wait, Chaos isn't Vengeance. But I think that's still not quite enough damage.
No, it's not. He has at most one-off lethal with Temptress Vampire.
Right. But still, Emeralda, eat Ether.
Emeralda does
Throw-
pop that for free, though, so that's pretty good. So.
Yeah. I'd say what we're seeing is just this eventual, sort of an inevitable result of just completely running out of resources against Control Blood. Even Shadow, in its immense ability to grind out really any matchup, is just kind of on the back foot the entire game, and we just kind of see Control Blood very comfortably, just sort of comfily and calmly, patiently.
Yeah, it does what it does.
uh,
You know, Control Blood just kind of like once you get to like 7, 8, 9 play points, Control Blood just kind of like really gets that chokehold on you. Like, you're not playing any more cards. You can play cards. Who cares? I'm gonna kill them all anyway, right? So.
Right. But something I noticed about Kainos' list is like it takes a while to finish it up, just because he's run it and he's built it in such a way where he doesn't really want to go for a super strong win condition. Just kind of takes his time, mounts his single spawn. But anyway, let's see what the desk has to say about that one.
Interesting stuff.
That's not okay. Mm-hmm.
Interesting
Alright.
stuff going on in that
Keonis
match.
versus now what's interesting to me, Control Blood obviously is something that's coming in and out. The
Mhm.
meta is kind of just cycling super quick, right?
Yes.
And whenever we see Control Blood come up, it always never ceases to amaze me just the extent to which they can just heal up, defend, and kind of get their footing on the game again and again and again. There are a few very intense turns that Best Marmot threw up against Keonis, and he had the options available to deal with it.
And like Envy and Mofu said, even missing the Diabolic Drain on that singular turn that Keonis didn't really put him that far behind because of how many tools Blood has access to. So just a really strong deck. I mean, especially against the aggro and mid-rangey type decks, because it can just out-card draw them, out-life advantage them, and just, you know, finish the game however they want to.
So Keonis will actually take a win there. That's going to be a good one for him. But Best Marmot still has to work on securing, I believe, his first win in the round robin has yet to come. So he's going to be on the back foot here, and he's going to have to figure out a way to kind of get at least in the top 3 if he wants to make it to the regional final here.
And I feel like this might be the week, and this isn't to harp on him by any means, because all I want to do is see Best Marmot grow. If he brought meta decks this week and couldn't make them work, he might be in this spiral of, okay, what can I actually bring here? But, you know, we'll look forward to next week. I'm sure he'll get a foothold here. I really want to see Mikata win this season, so we'll see how he progresses.
Absolutely. And if you guys want more information about anything Shadowverse Open related, if you want to see the decks that they play, some of the player profiles, the standings, the broadcast details, and schedule and whatnot, go to the website. Shadowverse.nge.io is your URL to see all that kind of stuff. So make sure you give that a visit. Live standings, player profiles, and more. That's exactly what that said. I read that word for word.
That's good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. It's time for a little bit of a power nap, some exercise, you know. We gotta go out and stretch a little bit. We got
Get
a
on that
5-minute
treadmill.
break.
Yeah.
And when we come back, there's gonna be more European Shadowverse Open. We are back with more Shadowverse Open. We're in the European section of the tournament.
Week 3, part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah.
So we've already seen Group A play out, and now we're going to get started with Group B. If you guys want to know what the standings are and what the results are, feel free to go to our website. Shadowverse.ng.io has live updating results there. So you can scroll down and figure out who's in the lead, who's behind, where everybody stands after they play their matches. We just saw Keonis take a win off of Best Marmot, and now we're going to be moving on with the rest of the tournament, which means that we're going to get into matches between Akamaru Red.
That's right.
We have Sazoni in this group. We have a lot of interesting matches. I thought Group A was pretty interesting. Fatina made a strong showing.
Yes.
A very, very effective showing. And we had Pain and Bad fight it out in the first match, and that was good to see.
I thought that
Bad
was
try
really
to,
good.
Yeah, try to extend her playstyle here, and Pain continue to demonstrate why he's so good at this game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But now, let's take a look at the schedule for the second half of the show. Akamaru Red versus Mad Allen will kick things off, and then we've got Dasvi versus Sheepy, Meow versus Sazoni. Now, off the top of my head, the interesting thing about this group, Sheepy is having a lot of trouble.
Yes, he
has yet
is.
to find a win. Meanwhile, Akamaru Red and Sazoni leading the charge.
Absolutely, and I'm really excited to see these matchups in specific. We've got Akamaru Red against Mad Allen. We haven't seen Mad Allen be tested this hard yet, so I want to see if he can rise to the challenge. I want to see if Akamaru Red can be beaten, just like Jay-Z from the NA side.
Now, I'm having trouble remembering. In Season 2, did Akamaru Red make it out of groups undefeated, or was he 4-1?
I don't think so. I think he went 4-1. He lost
Went
one
4-1.
time, I think,
Okay.
to Fatina, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. So is the dream is still alive this time around, right? He's
Oh, yeah.
undefeated so
yeah.
far.
He can go undefeated this
Yeah.
time. Absolutely.
Yeah, the dream is alive. We'll see if Matt Allen will perpetuate that dream, or if he'll put a stop to it.
That's right.
You know, lay down
yeah,
the law.
That's what I want to see. You know, Akamaru Red, I love you, man, but, you know, I want to see the train derail.
Maybe, or maybe the train never derails.
That's right. That's
like
right.
Mofu Skeleton, it never ends. Let's take a look at the head-to-head here. An overview of the match. There is Matt Allen playing Rune and Blood with Sword Band, and Akamaru Red is going to be fielding Blood and Shadow. Now, it's going to be interesting that Matt Allen lets Blood through. That it did seem to be a popular ban today in the European region, but I guess when it's between Blood or Dragon, hey, there's a few Dragon decks that have been let through.
Everyone hates playing against Dragon right now. I can't blame them. I mean, Dragon cards are super powerful. I mean, just like Blood are. It's just what you favor to play against. What have you practiced enough against? You know, what cards do you not want to see played against you? Things like that for your specific matchup. So,
yeah, and I would absolutely agree. Dragon has a lot of consistency, a lot of flexibility,
and
There
it
are
can
times-
cheat. Like we joke about how heal is cheat, but ramping, you know, that's cheat, right? You get to do more powerful things than your opponent faster. A lot of times you don't want to play against that.
Let's take a look at a specific deck here. Akamaru Red's Shadowcraft deck. And here's a card that's kind of new to Starforged Legends that I think is worth talking about a little bit. Some of the things that really power Shadowcraft is their card advantage, their card draw that they have. Andrelphus is a new card that has really helped that game plan along. Talk to me a little bit about this card and how it fits into the whole picture.
Absolutely. So Andrelphus 2-play.12, last words draw card. Very simple effect. What makes him really good is if you can afford to evolve him. The reason I say that is because he only evolves with +1/+1 in stats, but he gives all other followers in your hand his same last words effect. So it can be very powerful just as a 2-drop, just so you can get that card filtering with Soul Conversion, Demon Eater, draw a whole bunch of extra cards, build some shadows. And very effective if you're kind of behind and you need to play to the board a little bit more and just give all of your followers a little bit of an extra boost.
The extra little kick.
Yeah, just give me some extra cards. I need a little bit more here.
And you have a whole hand that cycles itself.
That's right.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So here's a full deck list. NGE number 2, Aka's Confidence. What the heck?
You know what? I believe all three of his decks were named Aka's something, and I think this is his Confidence deck. This is the deck that we've seen him pilot extremely well in past weeks. Not really making any mistakes, playing exactly the way he needs to. The one interesting thing I want to point out about his deck is he's not relying on Phantom Howl or Deathly Tyrant to finish the game. He feels so confident in his mid-shadow play that he doesn't need any tech tools to win with it.
And we really kind of, you know, damage from hand is a big thing in Shadowverse, right? If you don't have those options, you really are playing the quote-unquote honest game.
Yes.
Of like, you need to maintain board control. You need to have something stick for a turn, and then can you do damage?
And you really have to make optimal plays every turn to execute that game plan, because every point of chip damage matters. Every single point of Ektar damage matters, and then Thane is really your only combo finish, right? So
we'll see how that works out for Akamaru Red. But how do you feel about Matt Allen's deck lineups here in this particular match? What does Akamaru Red have to be worried about? What does Matt Allen have to be looking for?
Well, we're in this spot again where we see Vengeance Blood up against two decks that are very good against Vengeance Blood. We see Dirt Rune again. We've already seen that matchup play out. That's heavily in favor of Dirt Rune. And then we're seeing Aggro Sword. Aggro Sword can do crazy amounts of damage. I believe there is a lot of ambush in Matt Allen's deck. So a lot of ways to side skirt Diabolic Drains and all the things that you would want to stop, or stop with Vengeance Blood. I think he's got a really good chance if he's been targeting that deck, or if he can target that deck in this matchup.
Yeah, and really, I think Akamaru Red identified that, and so he just banned out the sword.
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with this. You know, we're just gonna get rid of that.
That's right.
We'll have to see if he can survive against the Dirt Rune, though. I mean,
that's tough. It's really hard because you can't play your game plan, right? You just can't do it. You're just like, I want to be in Vengeance, but I can't, because if I do, I'm gonna die.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people playing Vengeance Blood today. It might be worth us just talking about it a little bit. Putting yourself into Vengeance as 10 health or less, or I guess you could use Blood Moon, right?
Yes.
Technically, but a lot of Vengeance decks don't afford the opportunity to play a 3 point amulet.
It's hard because it doesn't progress in aggro game state, and it doesn't really do anything defensively when you're not pairing it with cards like Revelation. Maybe you can kind of do this hodgepodge of, like, you know, 1 or 2 Revelations with your Diabolic Drains and things, and then maybe throw in some Blood Moons. I've tried it with Vengeance Blood before. I like it, just saying. But not a lot of players opt to do it because Succubus and, you know, other proactive cards that just have a means to end the game a little bit faster.
And once you're at this point, I mean, putting yourself at 10 health, especially if you're against decks that have some kind of reach, right? It's super hard to bargain that, right? There isn't really, it doesn't seem like there's an alternative game plan for a Vengeance deck. You know, I might be leaning towards something more traditional, like a Bat Aggro or something like that that isn't reliant on that. How do you feel? What are the benefits of running a Vengeance Blood deck in this type of a scenario where you feel like you could be sniped?
If things slow down a little bit, Vengeance Blood gains a lot of value, because every card they play is super powerful when you are in Vengeance. It can actually just catch you up and push you beyond your opponent once you get into Vengeance. The problem with that strategy is if your opponent correctly identifies that you're going to be going with that strategy, they can target it with these aggro lineups. And now we're seeing a resurgence of Dirt Rune. Yes, we've been seeing it trickling back and forth, but now we see it as a pretty consistent deck across players. D-Shift waning a little bit, Dirt Rune coming back into the meta a little bit, and that should spell some trouble for people. Watch out for this, you know what I mean? And Akamaru Red maybe not leaving enough up to, you know, research this week, because he played Vengeance Blood before. You know, it's a known deck that he likes to play. He's played Mid-Shadow before. Maybe he's getting a little too predictable, and he's getting targeted now.
Well, we'll see. I mean, if there's anybody who can pull out amazing
of course
lines of play,
I'm still going to put this in favor of Akamaru Red, okay? I'm not even going to say it's shifting, even if he might be targeted out here, because I think his play is exceptional. We haven't really seen him falter at all. Like, every single play is on point. He does things that, you know, we don't think about. He does things that just make sense after you see him play it. So yeah, I've got to still throw my towel in his corner.
And you're probably right, and maybe it is somewhat something that Akamaru Red isn't too worried about. Maybe he wants to establish a particular identity so he can cash in on that information some other time, right?
Absolutely.
Like maybe during the regional finals he says, hey, I've been playing this all-round Robin, but now you can't prepare against me because I'm definitely not going to play that.
A new strategy emerges. I see you, Akamaru Red. Just play what everybody thinks you're going to play for the rest of the round robin and still smoke them. And then, yeah, once you get to the regional finals, you're just like, this is my tech, and then just swamp over everybody.
Yeah, and that's actually real dangerous, because we talked about the regional finals is a bracket format. Right. So it's like
big difference.
If you try to take down Akamaru's lineup, and he doesn't run that line, you're stuck with that the whole tournament.
Yeah, that's just really tough in general. It's like you have to find out who you're going to be playing against, or possibly playing against in every round. But because of the nature of the tournament, it could switch at any given point, and it could just take you into this whirlwind of, oh crap, I didn't expect to play against this. So you've got to play good, consistent decks, and like Fatina said, maybe even a triple combo lineup if you know how to pilot them correctly, because it's super hard to counter that when you're playing a big open format, unless you're playing triple aggro. And triple aggro can run into triple mid-range, you know, and triple aggro can run into triple control, and it's not always the best game plan. So it's tough. It's a tough world out there.
Yeah, the deck submission process is something that is very, very deep. So I believe we're kind of moving through some information here right now, and that's cause for the delay. So we'll get running with the show the instant that we figure these things out. But until then, they're going to have to deal with us. Yesterday, we did the Shadowverse Charity Extravaganza. You can actually find the VOD in the Twitch channel.
Please watch it. It was so fun yesterday. Probably one of the most fun casts we've ever done. And a lot of exciting camera action. We played for a lot of different charities. Very interesting to see the amount of people who wanted to fund animal charities versus intellectual charities, and the intellectual charities ended up taking over at the end.
Yeah.
It's just a super fun day. Yeah. And if you want to see Mofu's true form, you definitely need to watch the VOD.
If you don't understand Mofu until you've watched that.
That's right.
There's something deep within Mofu. Something deep within all of us, actually.
Yes, actually, yeah.
It's present in all of us. It's part of you. It's part of me. It's part of the internet chat. You know.
You in chat will identify with his true self, and you would be doing yourself a disservice if you did not watch it. Yeah.
It did start to get a little wacky towards the end, though, where he started having, you know, his proclaimed hair.
Yeah.
You know,
hair. I don't know if I agree with that.
He started becoming like this bio-fused, half skelly, half human thing.
Yeah.
It started getting really weird towards the end.
I got confused as to what he even was at the end.
The later seasons weren't as good.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, the first season was the best.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, definitely give it a watch, the Shadowverse Charity Extravaganza. Also, would like to remind everybody that you could go to @Shadowverse Game and get updates on anything Shadowverse related. There's a lot of announcements that get tweeted out there, and that gives you updates on some of the upcoming events that are happening. Most notably on the calendar at the end of the year, the World Grand Prix is something that's going to be happening, and that's going to be in Tokyo, Japan, a LAN tournament, live tournament, and players are going to be flying out there to compete.
How much are they going to be playing for? Please tell them. Please.
Lots of dollars.
Lots of dollars. Too many dollars to even remember, I think.
Okay, let me try to remember. What was the exact number?
100,000.
Was it exactly?
It was 120,000.
120,000. That's right.
Yeah, $120,000 in total prize for Shadowverse. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
NA, EU, Japan. There's like Korea, China. People from all over the world are going to be competing for more money than I've ever seen in Shadowverse. And we're going to see the highest level of competition we've ever seen, because the top players from each region are going to be competing. It's not just going to be Japanese players. It's not going to be one region. It's going to be all the regions. If you're not going to watch it online, fly out there to see it in person. This is going to be one heck of a show.
Yeah. The 120, the best thing about that, too, is all the players who are qualified to go there, they're already in the money.
Yes, they're getting paid. I mean, realistically, they're getting paid just to go, right? I mean, a free trip to Japan is wonderful, especially around Christmas time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know. I've never been there, but I'm hoping.
Yeah. It'd be, Christmas time is a perfect time to realize just how lonely you are, and also dream of what it would be like to receive gifts from people that you love.
And say first prize is, American 45,000, something around that. Getting that for Christmas feels pretty good.
Feels pretty good.
It's
a lot of money to spend on things to occupy yourself when you realize you still have no friends.
That's right. I'd probably sink it back into Shadowverse so I can finally get my forte. I mean, not my forte, but my leader,
Aldos.
My Aldos leader. Yeah.
You still don't have that?
I don't, man. I can't get it. I don't have the Daria one either, but I don't really care about the Daria one.
Oh.
I love Daria, okay, but the animation, I want Aldos. I just want it. Yeah.
Aldos' animation is pretty good. I can't wait until they make a Dark Angel Olivia leader.
They could. I mean, it's been a long time. Dark Angel Olivia's been out for a long time. They did give her away as an animated card for competitive play at one point.
Yes.
But not a leader yet.
Yeah.
That's true.
She's been hiding out back there in the corner.
Is that your favorite?
Dark Angel Olivia is pretty cool.
Yeah?
Pretty cool. My favorites are definitely still, Either Elf Queen or Cassiopeia.
Okay. Elf Queen's pretty sweet. We don't see a lot of Elf Queen anymore, but she's super powerful.
Yeah. Hey, my deck uses Elf Queen with Loki. Not particularly together, but there's Loki and there's Elf Queen.
That doesn't work, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No, because, yeah, you don't have
It
any
uses
shadows
up all the
left.
shadows
Yeah.
and then it heals you for
Yeah,
0.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does work with Cassiopeia, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cassiopeia will just be shooting people.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're playing Loki because you're also playing King Elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
King Elephant. I actually think the more consistent answer with Loki is probably Loki Aaron. Tends to come up a little more often.
Ooh. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Do you get double
orbs.
Evo orbs?
Yeah.
Ooh. That
Yeah.
feels pretty good.
The only thing that's upsetting about that is it's not like Olivia, where Olivia gives you 3 Evo orbs and it doesn't matter if you went first. They'll just like redo it and give you 3. Aaron, you actually like
There
can't
is a
go
maximum?
past. Yeah, if you
Okay.
go first and you have 2, you actually can't go past
Important to note, if you're going to Loki or Aaron, make sure you have enough play point orb spots to
Yeah.
refill.
2. Yeah.
Mhm.
Otherwise,
Yes.
you'll be a very sad panda.
That's right.
An incredibly sad panda. that's
Competitive
playing
players
forest.
everywhere, watch out for this effect.
Watch out. PSA. Let's make a thread on Reddit right now.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have the opportunity to just live tweet right now? Let's tweet out, hey, just so you know.
Well, I don't have my phone. I would live tweet right now.
Yeah.
Just so you know, this is important stuff. Mm-hmm.
So I think we're still getting things set up. Actually, something interesting to be able to do,
Mhm.
a little more relevant to the tournament. Is I believe we have another deck that we can look at on the side of Matt Allen.
Oh, perfect.
Matt Allen, and we talked about this, about how tough this matchup is, but Matt Allen is running a Dirt Rune
Mm-hmm.
deck here. So here is a abomination.
Abomination asleep.
Abomination asleep.
That's right. So I actually got tricked. Now this is a Dirt Rune deck, okay? And yeah, this did get through. This might not actually have the matchup we were talking about against Vengeance Blood. He's running a
Not
path.
necessarily burn, right?
It's not burn. It's control.
Yeah.
He's looking to control the board with abominations and Path to Purgatory in the end game. Rainey, can you tell me how he gets there?
He plays things like Star Reader Stella. He plays things like Gingerbread House. He uses things like Altered Fate, and he just kills his own cards until he gets PTP, and then he laughs his way to the bank.
I am now actually just going to switch my entire hat here after looking at this deck.
Oh, no!
Yesterday we talked about PTP Rune. Last week we talked about PTP Rune. I don't know if it's good enough, at least in this form.
Well, we'll see. Both of you are ready for us, so we'll see what they think about this matchup.
Now I gotta say that's one of the most interesting Ruthless I've seen in a while. I mean, I've versed very much in PTP Rune, but I didn't catch that either when we were looking at the deck lists. But
Yeah. There's a few of them,
Let's look-
actually.
We're really seeing Matt Allen coming in with these weird game plans between PTP Rune and Jormungand Blood, is it, if I'm looking at this correctly? Or
He
Akamari
brought
Red
that
just...
last week, I do believe, so.
Whereas Akamari Red, it's pretty standard stuff, as he usually is like to. He brings lists that are just very consistent. He just doesn't drop games with them. That said, he's going as Shadow into PTP Rune. Now this is actually a tough one to call because mid Shadow takes a while to set up, and Rune on a good day can get towards any level of its game plans really, really quickly. So, ooh.
He also got the God draw. Matt Allen with the insane best draw possible.
Between a Skull Beast and a Belinus, it's like, what does it take to actually deal with a Magic Illusionist that comes straight out of a Witch's Cauldron?
A lot. Takes a lot.
I don't really see Shadow having like a significant answer to that. The Red Hot Ritual also exists, so really, amidst Akamari Red's like contemplation of his mulligan here, it's like kind of hard to imagine what mid Shadow needs to actually like establish any early game here. Going second as well.
That is definitely kind of odd. Oh gosh. Matt Allen drawing some really good cards here. If he actually gets Gingerbread House, he has an amazing curve. Akamari Red just getting not much to add on to this. He mulliganed into a 6-drop even too. He got rid of the Prince of Catacombs. Got a 6-drop for it. Ugh.
Yeah, that's more or less the end of his curve plan, unless he draws into something different.
Mm-hmm. Not
So-
very good.
Mhm. Magic Illusionist down. He doesn't have an immediate way to pop the Cauldron, so Matt Allen's plan isn't really developed yet either on his side.
Pretty interesting matchup. Like, honestly, I don't even know, really. I want to say BTP Rune, I think, has a good option, like a good set of tools against mid-range decks. But mid-range Shadow specifically is so sticky that it's hard to pinpoint, whether that should be a quote-unquote good or bad matchup. I do think, however, with Calamitous Curse, he should be okay. Matt Allen should be okay.
Honestly, Calamitous Curse can just sometimes be the end of the matchup for Shadow. It's like that card brushes off the entire class, like in a single swoop. It doesn't really help that Akamaru Red's like his development options here are pretty thin. Lurching Corpse is not really going to accomplish much more than slightly dealing with Magic Illusionist 2 pops. It probably wants to hold the Andrew Alphys, but there's nothing in his hand that actually benefits from it.
All right, this development option is literally non-existent. It's also non-existent for the next 2 turns after this. Akamaru Red needs to draw something useful. He could actually opt to not even play the Androphis here. He could just save it so he can evolve it next turn. I like this too, actually.
I'm starting to notice something that just glancing at Akamaru, at Matt Allen's rune list, I think this is actually just a dirt burn list, and there might have been some mistake in showing like the list he was playing. Just noting that its 4-cost lineup is around like Halo Golem Piercing Runes. I might just see like a regular burn dirt list come out here.
Oh no, you're right.
Oh well. Probably just a simple mistake. I think the matchup is still, as we did see this matchup earlier, I think it is still usually favored slightly for Dirtburn, just because Shadow doesn't really have the tools to deal with some super sticky options like Magic Illusionist.
Right, it's definitely in Dirtburn Rune's favor. And now that I see the list, and also remember, I think Matt Allen actually, it's about the first time I've seen anybody do this. He brought the same list that he brought last week.
Got the faith in it.
I think almost verbatim same lists.
Well, when it comes to a deck like Burn Dirt, I like find myself like tripping over the syllables now too. Is that right, Burn Dirt?
It's so hard. It's so difficult.
Yeah. It's like the list really only needs like a certain number of pieces in it, really. Just Master Mage Levi, Wizardess of Oz, and just any lineup of between early game followers like Levi, Magic Illusionist. Where do you really find the list lacking? So I think I understand it. He's doing really well here. I mean, this is a pretty backbreaking position for Akamaru Red to try to come back from still. Really, not much to do here.
I mean, Akamaru Red's still paying for that mulligan into the first 2 cards that he drew being absolutely horrible. He's got that thing that he can't play for a very long time. He's got Death's Breath not doing anything. Great top deck of Zombie Party, though.
So he's got some options. Lurching Corpse gives him a play with Demon Eater, and as you said, Zombie Party pickup. Both these things can kind of happen together alongside Skullbeast to use up all of his play points to just try to get back onto this board.
It's not quite the best thing he can do here, but I don't know. Like, it's actually just really hard not to die this turn. Akamaru Red has to know that 3 damage is possible. If that Magic Illusionist is still alive, it can evolve and go face, and then 3 on the Halo Golem kills him. I'm sure he knows that, so...
I was trying very hard not to glance upwards, but as you say, he has to find a way to clear the Magic Illusionist completely alongside the rest of the board, which with this hand just isn't going to happen. Even Prince Catacomb might not have saved him here.
I think he's going to make the best possible play. Didn't even kill both Earth Sigils to try and give a chance of an Earth Golem not happening. That's just going to leave straight up evolve face Earth Golem. Or Halo Golem. I don't know why I'm saying Earth Golem. Halo Golem.
Halo Boy.
Halo Golem.
That really settles that really quickly. I mean, popping both sigils, I imagine it's something that is something that's hard to see when Carl's being there, or sitting there as a distraction, because like I see this happen a lot, where a player desperately trades into Carl because they don't want him to continue getting value, except the irony is that Matt Allen is not in any position where he needs the healing at all.
Right. Well, realistically, it doesn't matter if you kill Carl there, just because Carl doesn't keep coming back, where the Lucius does. Realistically, that's just a bad matchup. And not only that is, Nakamura had a terrible hand for that, so.
Settled super quickly, so Akamaru already having to move on to his only other list that he had prepared, which I believe is just his Vengeance Blood list. Wait, no, I bet. Matt Allen moving on to his other list of Jormungand. I always get that messed up.
Right, Jormungand, because his sword got banned. His aggro sword got banned. So, I mean, Blood's pretty good, I don't know. Against Shadow, it's kind of whatever, but...
Yeah, I think it absolutely could work out for him, just because I think I've seen this sort of matchup happen before. I don't remember if it was exactly Matt Allen that did the same thing, but I've noticed now, and I'm now keen to this one huge advantage that like Jormungand Blood has against other Blood lists, which is the opponent playing Urius actually helps if you have demonic Rams out. It becomes a source of healing. But he's going to have to win this one first to get into that kind of a matchup.
Right. Jormungand tossed away immediately. Not very useful in your opening hand. His hand's not very good. Ugh. Akamaru.
Oof. Now, I consider one of the strongest qualities of Mid Shadow to be that it's a really consistent list. But there are situations like this, as we can see, where the deck has so many spikes of power that happen around turn 7-ish plus. It's hard to really avoid drawing some of that in the early openers without like having really another series or lines of play to really go for early on.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think he cares too much. He's got a pretty good curve here. Can even play Ceres before he's able to evolve.
And
if
Ceres
Matt Allen goes
kinda...
for the Vite on 3, so...
Yeah. And Ceres just puts in work versus the sheer amount of bat generation. Tough to deal with. Ooh.
Yeah, definitely not the easiest way to handle that. Bone Chimera also on 3, kind of okay. It's kind of like Vite bait, right? Like you play a Bone Chimera and Vite just kind of like clashes on it twice, and you're like,
Yeah. It is a curve. You get a couple skeletons out of it to deal with the bats just a little bit, but Vite wins out in that exchange. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's quite unfortunate for Akamaru already. Just makes more problems for himself, realistically, because once you make more bats like that, you just end up getting Summon Bloodkin Dawn, and then it just snowballs. There's so many bats on the board, you're like, where'd all my skeletons go? You're like, where are they all dead of these bats? And then, but...
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, like, I think Ceres is just a much stronger answer to all of that than is trying to, smack with, like, a Super or something.
The thing about Ceres here is that, it's not playable on 4, realistically, right? You don't want to play the Ceres on 4, because any 3-drop can evolve. Realistically, like, Vite can evolve into... Right? Vite doesn't die, I don't think. No, to a non-evolved, he takes 3 on the backswing, doesn't die, and gets the Clash. Pretty good. So you'd want to wait until that can evolve, but then Matt Allen has the answer with Scarlet Sabor, has Bane. Doesn't matter how big the Ceres is, because Bane.
Right. And, like, from the position we were looking at, it's like, Akamaru Red's like still kind of playing off the top to look for his better answers and stuff. Like a Scarlet Sabrer is like not really something he's prepared to deal with if he had to commit the series there. But anyway, also with visuals restored, we can just go back through this early turns.
I do believe that if you try to catch up on a replay, it plays really fast, really quickly. So we'll just see what happened in the first couple turns, and we'll come back, in real time. I do believe.
Right.
I think.
So there's
I don't watch replays very often, but.
It's something along the lines. It does it like as quickly as humanly possible. Doesn't really try to emulate thinking time. But I'm noticing like Akamaru Red had this happen to him 2 games in a row now, where he tried to toss away one thing that seemed a little bit not so helpful for him on the early game. Like
Akamaru kind of got punished for the mulligan twice. I noticed that also. Yeah.
Just gets slapped by an immortal thing. Like here you go. But sometimes I imagine it's not too bad. Even though we did kind of talk about it, this hand is pretty unfortunate. It's like, it is sometimes the best you can ask for with a mid-range deck when you're against something like Jormungand aggro, or a deck like Jormungand that can sort of take on the shape of an aggro deck early on, or at least you
Oh,
do
the
have
zombie
ways to
party
stand.
top deck.
Hmm.
Oh
That means he doesn't really
gosh.
have to deal with the Vite at all.
Yeah, it doesn't have to do with the whole thing we talked about isn't even relevant.
Well, he can
It's
pretend
almost
that he had a
like
Vite and just go for
yeah,
the bunch of bats here.
yeah, whatever. Why even clash? I just have bats, right?
Hmm.
Catacomb though, skeletons versus bats.
Yeah, I actually think that Catacomb puts Akamaru Red in a fantastic position because I mean something we had talked about before, just looking at how their hands were developing early, was how does he deal with Sabur? He doesn't really have to, because like his board doesn't really lose anything by trading here. At least he can just
That
get
was
into
also an
range,
interesting
especially here.
trade too. Like an evolve, a very aggressive evolve there from Akamaru, being the first person to evolve, and then Matt Allen even evolving going face, not respecting that damage at all.
Hmm. He's just sort of telling Akamaru Red, I know you have to deal with the Scarlet Sabur, so take your time. In the meanwhile, I'm just gonna push you down as low as I can. And Akamaru Red just kind of has to answer it the best he can. Takes that challenge.
Mhm.
But that puts us in a situation that I think is not rare at all for Blood versus Shadow, where Shadow just gets the board eventually. Blood doesn't really have sticking power the way other classes do most of the time. But has the leg up on life advantage, with the Karabos begun to start to restore card advantage.
Kerberos is a pretty good card, but I don't know. Eek's pretty good too.
Yeah, Hector's okay. You know, deals with this pretty handily. Unfortunately, eats all his shadows, but who needs them? All right.
Right in a vengeance, right on a 6. Oh gosh.
The only thing activated, I think, in this list, I could check to make sure. Yeah, he doesn't run anything like Diabolic Drains in here. Really, the only card that interacts with Vengeance is Dark Airjammer. And, as you can see, just doesn't help him there.
Yeah, that's Ceres. Ceres made a board really. Ceres kept that board alive. Karabos answered it, but Ceres into Eekter there was just so strong, so powerful.
Yeah, that's something I noticed that maybe even just attests to the consistency of Mid Shadow is you can throw away mulligans into 7 drops, but it's okay because like the sheer sticking power of the class early on just transitions really smoothly into turn 7, especially being on the play. Anyway,
Diabolic Drains in Akamaru's deck. I think this is gonna give Akamaru the upper hand. I actually think that healing is great in the mirror match.
it absolutely is. Something that I'm just now starting to be wary of is, although it's not really tough for Akamaru to deal with, as options and Snarling Chains easily and Blood Wolf, but like I've seen Demonic Ram punish Urias like nothing else before, and it seems to be Akamaru Red's best turn 2 play.
Yeah, I think you just want to always kill their Urias, right? Like they're going first, they get first Urias. I think you want to kill it, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely realistic too. He drew another one anyway. He's got answers for days here.
And now the answer is to develop your own Urias or no. You get to evolve first, so.
Yeah, I don't imagine he goes for it, knowing these pings are just going to leave Matt Allen floating at it more or less full defense here.
I don't know. Do you want to blow both your Snarling Chains? This looks like an okay Urias turn to me. Goes for second Snarling Chains. All right, okay.
Yeah, I think part of the idea is he doesn't have another stable 2-drop other than Spiderweb Imp. Probably wants to try to figure out something to do in advance of Belphegor here, and doesn't want to just have Matt Allen sticking a full.
Right. That is true. Blood Wolf after a Demonic Ram. Gonna keep him at the same life total. This is looking really good for Akamaru Red, though. I feel like, heals and getting to evolve first are both really, really good in this matchup.
Right. Definitely seeing it too, because getting to evolve first. Oh, I was actually thinking Belphegor wasn't so bad. They're having Dark Airjammer come out so soon, but gonna develop some 2-drops here instead. Opening for Urias after dealing with both Rams, in fact.
It's an interesting way to play the Urias. You do leave it wide open to any other evolve. I guess Akamaru Red is okay with that. It's gonna probably get answered by Avanya here.
Mm-hmm. Double tick of punish, but not really too big of a deal for Matt Allen. I guess Akamaru just wants to sort of develop early on and try to get something on board for Matt Allen to have to evolve into, and then perhaps afterwards slam Belphegor, because it seems like, if anything, his position now is worse than it was before to actually develop Belphegor.
Ooh, Matt Allen actually, he goes wide this turn. That's important, I think, but he also put Akamaru Red in Vengeance.
Right, and he
He's
doesn't have
gonna
his
allow
own
him to
Furious
trigger
Mind.
Dark Air Jammer on curve. Double, oh my gosh,
Ooh.
double Blood Bowl.
I think he's built it in
Talk
such
about
a
a
way
punish.
Think you beat me.
that... I think he's built it in such a way that the Wolves, the Uriuses, and the Spider Weapons are the only possibilities from the Air Jammer, so swings that up. Very little difficulty.
That was absolutely devastating. Karabos is going to be able to come down, though, so not too big of a deal. I mean, you're out of cards, but you're going to start drawing to a turn, so it's not that big of a deal, right?
So, down to the last Evo point. Being ticked for one every turn. Next turn, I'm thinking, is a pretty solid time to go for the Belphegor. You feel me?
Yeah,
I think-
guess you could.
Because
What
I
about the
feel like
board?
to get... I feel like to get back into this situation, he really needs something along the lines of Diabolic Drain. Could be tough, though. The 8-3 needs to be answered soon.
That is true. If he does get a Diabolic Drain, I mean, he could also, if his draws are bad, evolve a 2-drop into it. Or just play a 2-drop.
Right.
Goes for Belphegor.
Okay.
I like it.
Doesn't
Staircase.
find...
This is my
Hmm.
home. You are my food.
Yep, that's what we're gonna
Okay.
do. We're gonna evolve a 2-drop into it. Oh gosh.
I suffocate you.
Perhaps not the fastest turn in the world, but he still is up in cards 4 now. And Alan is starting to race towards him with that Karabos effect still ticking. Now, if he's pausing here to think about the trade, now that's
Ooh,
interesting and terrifying.
Akamaru.
Now that is
Magic.
a call, so
He has to win somehow, right? So it's gonna pay off too. That trade is gonna happen.
I think that there was a lot that Matt Allen could potentially have had. Actually, with Snarling Chains, Razor Claw, just ticks of 3 damage being his primary removal here, and not having enough to play either of them alongside Sibir, that would have meant Matt Allen would have had to have exactly 2 3 damage removals in his hand to actually deal with that. So that, I think, is actually a brilliant trade to make into the bat.
All right, this is definitely bad news, Bears. Feels very bad. This trade, if you don't make it though, you could just die. Did he not? He didn't make it. He didn't make that trade.
He didn't make it.
Wow.
Wanted to protect his 8-3,
Oh,
but
the drain. Oh. The drain.
That is such a tough position to be in, not wanting to throw the 8-3 into the 3-5 board, but like, so easily, I imagine, that just gets punished. Especially by Drain, but even just making the trade on Akamaru Red's side now works for him.
Absolutely. Devastating though, Mofu. You're right.
Mhm.
You are right. That trade did hurt. But this is gonna hurt even more. This is the game, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, even just letting Akamaru make the trade himself on his own leisure is like, I mean, I guess that the situation doesn't change that much, but like, it opens him up to just anything Akamaru could have drawn. And like, a board like this is like, how do you get through this? Ugh.
Ridiculous.
And nothing along the lines of a Jormungand active or anything, just a Kairos.
Nothing can stop this. Yeah. I mean, even if your gun was active, there's no way to hurt yourself. So, and that's just the game. Akamaru. He gets him, dude.
Look at him.
He's got a new thing. It's the finger guns are gone. He's doing what did he do? He did this thing, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
like,
he did?
I actually couldn't see it too well. It was something like that, but he had it. Like,
Something like that. I don't know what
I
that
saw
even
it.
means. What even is that?
I don't even know what it means. Like, it's the lines of play. That's what I'm going with.
Oh yeah.
Lines of play.
Hashtag
Trades in
A.
there.
Hashtag
A.
got it. Yeah.
And then he converts into the guns. Anyway.
Yeah. Hashtag.
Let's go
hashtag
back.
finger guns. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like.
let's go back to see what Desk has to say about those games.
That was actually so.
That was
one
such a sweet play.
one correction here before we dive
Yes.
too far into it. Matt Allen's rune deck, as you guys saw, did
Was
end up
Dirt Rune.
did
Yeah.
end up being the dirt
Regular
rune, the
Dirt
burn rune
Yeah.
version of it. Just a broadcast error on that portion.
See, I
so
was right, chat, okay? For once in my life.
apologies for that. I believe the Stella PTP rune deck that we showed was actually Meow's deck that he's going to be running. But Matt Allen's rune deck was the Dirt rune, and we did see that do very well against Akamaru Red there, defeating his mid Shadow. But tough matchup for Akamaru Red to win.
Yeah.
And
had to make a call. That call propelled him into the end of that game. I feel like he was behind the entire time, was like, I have to take a stab at it. Took the stab at it, and it paid off. Those are the types of plays we were talking about. I don't think we could have story told it any better. He's up against the ropes in the matchup, but he makes plays that not everybody would make, and he makes very good plays. And a decision like that in a crucial game shows exactly why he's still on top.
Took the win too, and he was happy about that.
Oh
as
yeah,
well, you know,
doing his little Michael Jackson finger guns, whatever you're doing these days, Akamaru Red. We enjoy it. You're great.
We need like a briefing on like the Akamaru Red ceremonies.
Absolutely.
Know? But incredible game from Akamaru Red himself, and another win extends his undefeated streak.
That's right.
What an incredible performance. Matt Allen was looking incredibly threatening.
This is the closest we've seen. We saw it on Akamaru Red's face, too. He looked a little defeated after the first couple games, you know what I mean? But he just pulled it back, and then we saw him in true form by the end of it, so.
Yeah. The situation was well for Akamaru Red, and he pulled it through and made it happen with the right line of play. But
That's right.
Matt Allen's going to take the loss. Akamaru Red bumps up one. Again, if you want to check the standings, make sure you go to the website, shadowverse.ng.io, has live updating standings. But let's move on to the next match here. We've got DasV versus Sheepy, and this is going to be very interesting. Sheepy having a little bit of trouble. DasV, one of the newer players to the season, and is kind of, doing his thing, I think, middle of the pack, really. But talk to me a little bit about the lineups that they're bringing today. I do see that Sword has made it through, so it's going to be the first Sword craft list that we're going to be seeing today. How do we feel about these lists?
Well, we've got some interesting lists. So Sheepy's actually bringing Otahime Sword along with Nephthys. So not a lineup I don't think we've seen at all in any of this tournament series right now. So maybe Sheepy, again, doing a lot of what we said other players should be doing, and just going outside the box, moving around with their deck choices, maybe throwing a little curveball here or there. And like you said, Sheepy needs to come back. He hasn't pulled out a win yet. We really want to see him get there, things like that. And on DasV's side of things, I mean, he's got the standard triple deck lineup right now. He's got a Vengeance Blood list, he's got a Dirt Rune list. He actually mix and match those as opposed to playing them, like we've seen on opposite sides of the field. And he's got a neutral forest deck. So I think that this is just a wild card matchup. This is going to see who prepared well enough with their decks. I think DasV is a great player. I think that he has exactly what it takes to win, especially because Sheepy's feeling a little on the ropes right now. But if he can pull it back this week, anything can go.
Let's take a look at one of Sheepy's lists. It's going to be a Swordcraft list, and there's a very interesting card that we're going to feature, and that's going to be Gawain. Who would have ever thought we would talk about Gawain of the Round Table in a deck feature? Now, I wouldn't say he's necessarily the linchpin of this deck, but a very interesting card that does enable some specific plays, some niche plays that could change the game for you. But what does Gawain do, and where does it fit into this deck here?
4-play point 3/4 follower. When it attacks, you reduce the cost of every commander in your hand by 1. And that works good on an evolution turn, but it also has an enhanced 6 effect where it gets +1/+1 in rush. Kind of like the common theme in Sword. So basically you do it so that you can cheat the curve on commanders, or late in the game just play a bunch of lower costed ones all in the same turn, usually wards, so that you can protect yourself into the end game.
And we'll try to figure out what Sheepy is thinking for the rest of his deck here, and figuring out how Sword kind of will fit in his game plan and what he's going to do. Wildcard is probably the best way to describe what's going to happen here. These are very unique lists, and this is the Walfred list coming back once again.
I love it. Walfred all day, every day. This is probably the heaviest control version we've seen so far. We've got the Mars White Paladin combo, of course. We've seen how effective that can be. We've got Amelia. We've got Aurelia. We've got Gawain to pump out the late game stuff. We have Sage Commander and Captain Walfred to help out Seed Queen Otahime and push the board. And now, because of White Paladin and Mars, we have so many boards that can be present. And we even saw it yesterday with PrepCoin, if you managed to watch a charity event, how effective that can be. And then just a late game push of pumping all the followers in play and just kind of overwhelming your opponent.
So tell me a little bit about this list. I mean, it's a newer list. I don't actually think we've seen the full range of what it can do. What in your mind, what space does this list fill in the current competitive meta here? Why do you think this list, like, where are its advantages if they did exist? Where do you think, what do you think motivates these players to bring this list?
Yeah, so this is what I would like to call transitional deck. This isn't your classic control deck. This isn't your classic mid-range deck. This is a deck that plays mid-range that can go control if it needs be. Where that gets its strength from is it can go over the top of other mid-range decks. It just has more value, more late game to try to push you into that realm. Not quite a control deck, but can compete with control decks because it has cards like Odahime that can fill the board by themselves. Kind of like the classic Council of Card Knights did in older Swords. This does it now in a much broader way and a more consistent way if you want to push really late into the game.
Well, we'll see how that plays out, and we'll have Mofu and Envy take us through the game.
Sheepy, I don't know, man. I'm looking at it.
Hold
I
on,
really
hold on,
respect
Mofu,
it.
hold on. Let's double check the deck list, make sure EXO didn't give us the wrong list again before we look stupid again.
Oh, true, very true. But
Let's
it
double
matched
check
up
all
with what
of
we were
them.
shown.
Especially that Gawain. I think he's lying. Do you think he's playing Gawain? Are you serious?
I mean, Gawain with all these commanders kind of works. I mean, you know what? He's the one who brought this list. He practiced it. He knows what he's doing, and I root for him. I think
3.
this.
What a maze.
Yeah, all we can do is be supportive. To be honest, I like this list a lot. I adore it. I think it's absolutely adorable because this is like, if you think about how you build Gawain, I think this is actually the most realistic version. You want to discount Otohime and the like smash like an earlier Walford right ahead of it. Like it gets a lot done. I've never seen it happen. Hopefully that surprises me. But
Well,
he's against
realistically,
some.
it's not even a Gawain deck. It's a Odahime Walfred or a Mars White Paladin deck that just kind of
Right.
uses gold, right? Like, because Mars White Paladin is insane.
It is good. It is probably with like the linchpin of what Sword has really become. I don't think any deck can really protect itself as well as that. But then again, it seems pretty experimental. It's not like anything I've seen before. It might have some trouble with these really consistent lists that it's about to face.
Definitely and definitely. I mean, on the other side, I mean, I've got a few bad matchups, but not too. Yeah, never mind. Okay, it's 3. Is Neutral Forest a bad matchup? It's not banned, right? I don't think it is.
Well, he did ban it, I think. Yeah, it is.
He actually did ban that one. That's the one that I wasn't sure if it was a bad matchup, or the other two are terrible matchups for that.
Right. I mean, the amount of tempo swinging and pressure that you just take from decks like Vengeance Blood and I mean, Rune especially really doesn't care about sword shenanigans most of the time.
Oh
Well,
yeah, no.
Yeah,
Master
we'll
Mage
see.
Levi is just like, boop. Don't care about any of that.
On the other side, Nephthys Shadow is a deck that I've actually not seen in forever. This version, perhaps worth noting, 2378. So the significance of that is that it can curve out pretty early with a Tentative Knight and the likes, and still gets that super defensive late game burst with like Kawi and Mordecai able to hit the field. But really, I don't know what to predict.
Nephthys is weird, dude. It's like, man, can you even think of the last time you actually saw Nephthys?
Nope, to be honest.
I think I tried playing it at the beginning of Starforged, and it just did not feel good enough. I don't know. I don't know what to say about Nephthys, really. It's a weird one.
So, yeah, I guess as it was said before us, Sheepy's lists are just really unique. He's coming in as a wild card, perhaps like trying to just be very difficult to predict. But I mean, to try to build these so suddenly in a meta that's already been quite established, and already seeing lists like these have been struggling lately, I think that it's at least worth just seeing how it works, because probably playtesting these things is going to reveal something that drove him to bring things like this.
And I mean, to be fair, give him credit with the sword deck. I've run into this deck on ladder a few times. I know that it can work. You stick a few Odahimes. You've got the Walford coming down the following turn, right? Because you've reduced it with Gawain, and it's not.
Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. Because this list reminds me a lot of Mid Shadow in that perhaps it's gotta gimmick its way up to what Mid Shadow does quite naturally, but the idea is the same. Too many floods on board, too much to remove, and then just slams a finisher on top of all that. We'll see. We get to see it soon. Right now,
That's true. I don't. Well, we might not see it soon. Actually, the board might just die because burn rune.
ooh, that's super interesting. Against Sword, right? Usually, like the card I would mulligan for in this kind of matchup is Red Hot Ritual. It's a perfectly good response to a lot of things.
That is interesting. Yeah, I do actually. I agree with you. I think Red Hot Ritual is great. Super pleb, non-alt art Odahime in hand though. Ugh.
Oh,
Oh gosh. Is it even worth playing Odahime if she's not animated alt art? Come on.
Probably not. And it's like, are we on the same page here? Do we both own 3 of the alt art?
Yes,
Or is that
I
just
own
me? Yeah,
4. I
there we
own
go.
4 of them. Yeah,
You
I'm ready
own
for
4
the
of it?
change to letting us play 4 of them.
I don't know, but he does have like most of the pieces that we were discussing earlier. It's a handful of commanders and doesn't really need Gawain to really set them off, but it's not really a particularly high pressure kind of curve for Sword to be putting on here.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Gawain would trigger the combo that I mentioned. So, you have the Odahime, which would come down on 5. Well, it would come down on, if the Gawain evolves, Odahime comes down on 5. So you can't Walford it, but, that's Odahime on 5. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All I can think of off the top of my head is even if he manages to get his best case scenario off, is if Dasby finds one of his Master Mage Levi's. Ugh. Yeah, actually,
Ooh,
just
that's a
saying that
free
out
Mars. Ooh, Mars lived.
loud. Ooh. That's actually huge.
That is huge. Yes, Mars is an incredibly powerful Swordcraft legendary follower, and her living is insanely good here.
Anytime there's any failure to remove Mars from the board, it always ends up with something like this, where Veteran Lancer, not too great on its own, is suddenly just spawned to at least 3/3 base stat lines. Having no trouble actually dealing with this the threat of a follower with ambush here.
Exactly. Every time they clash, they'll gain 1 more additional attack. Levi will promptly have to answer this Mars behind the wards, but that's going to leave the Mage of Nightfall. If Mage of Nightfall chooses to attack here, it's also going to kill her, so she can't clash with any of this. Except for the Mars. He could use Mage of Nightfall to kill Mars.
I think that's probably what he has to do. I imagine it doesn't feel good, right? I mean, playing Burns and being put into a situation where you've got to trade with one of the few attackers that really gets to stay outside of the range.
It really sucks too, because also Red Hot, he didn't keep it in the mulligan and he draws it now and almost kind of gets punished, reminded man, this could have been so good turn 2, right?
Yeah.
Instead, and or turn 3, I guess, rather.
Part of it, I imagine, even just if you don't need to play Red Hot on 2, which is a very huge potential consideration when you're going first against Sword. What are they going to play? Vanguard? No, he doesn't have anything like that. But holding it just to be able to get trades into something like Mars, really good for him. But position not too bad. He can reclaim the board here. And what's Sheepy got other than a flat Amelia?
It is possible he goes face for 4. He is going first, so getting damage in is kind of important.
I see it, but I'm scared.
Consideration. Okay, kills the Mars. I mean, realistically, if no more wards come down, do you even care if they have more health, right? The answer is yes.
Point. So playing the Red Hot Ritual instead of the Earth Essence at the end there, I think is telltale that he probably wants to toss the Earth Essence onto the board if possible. Then Wizard of Savage to try to get as many spells as possible, but won't have enough play points to play any of them after that.
That is true, and you don't really want to evolve the Oz either.
Yeah, this
Levi's an okay draw, though. Never mind.
Huh.
It's going to put that Dance of Death at 1, cast it on the Luminous Mage here.
Okay. So it does seem fairly safe here, and throwing away the Dance of Death is pretty nice. Didn't draw any other spells, so not likely to be punished by the Last Words effect on the side of Oz.
And this is lesson number 1 to why poor Odahime is just not really played. He could play Odahime here. Okay, he's going to. But gonna, first of all, it's gonna die to Oz, and if Master Mage Levi is in hand or gets top deck, then Odihime gets wiped completely. So
That's that, really. I don't think
Another
Mr.
fiction.
Sheepy can come back from something like that, but you can hope that it doesn't happen.
oh, it didn't happen. Okay,
Dodged it.
sometimes lucky. Still can't Walford though. Only at 7 play points next turn. So
Mhm. Oof. This is something that I find really interesting, actually. To opt to play 2 Walfrids and 1 Sage Commander kind of gives me the feeling that he might have had this list with triple Walfrid before as his main win condition, and then opted to switch out 1 because he just needed it a bit earlier, but still suffering from that problem in this sort of a board state.
exactly. And I mean, Sheepy, Sheepy looked like he had the board there for a second, but I mean, he's already at 8 life. He doesn't have any healing, so this is all permanent damage, if you will, being done to his life total.
Yeah. I think, though, this might actually be a really crucial time for Dasvi as well, because even with this huge life advantage still doing fine, Sheepy can swing this. He has the last laugh with evolution points, and
He
then
can,
what
yeah.
does Dasvi do? His hand's not really helping him.
Right, Dasvi needs to get rid of these Odihime bodyguards before Walford comes down, and he can actually set up Walford this turn. You could do it next turn anyway, but you can do it cooler by playing Gawain this turn.
True, the Gawain's like the coolest possible way he can. I also like, well, I guess there's a lot of ways to approach this. He can get that swing with the Luminous Mage and keep the evolution. He can do the classic old Darkness Evolved mid-sword play where he just Otohimes, then loses them, then plays another Otohime and refreshes it.
The
All right.
Gawain gonna kill. Yes, boost those commanders. Yes,
That worked on his entire hand, in fact.
I
The
did.
Gawain's safe.
Unbelievable.
I think he actually evolved that just so it would live the Master Mage Levi, also pushing damage as well. But
Mm-hmm. Mage of Nightfall could be absolutely huge here. It's both a draw and a promise of 4 more damage.
oh my gosh, the cantrip.
Ooh. So that Mage of Nightfall had 2 huge purposes there, and he's still one off. Still isn't actually like a plan of lethal
Well,
or anything.
he's more than one off because Walford's gonna happen, but
Mm-hmm.
that was a really good draw.
Right.
Got a choice here too. He
This-
could kill Gawain. Killing Gawain's a completely legitimate play. But going face, I think, is how you win this game.
Mm-hmm. Right. Gotta protect himself the best he can. If I'm honest, I'm still nervous for Dasvi. That was really fortunate for him to draw into, but at the same time, outside of drawing a Wizardess here, I don't think any other top deck is going to be adequate after this Walfrid.
Yeah, this Walford is pretty much the play. I'm pretty sure he buffs +2/+2 and gives ward to soldiers. So these Odihime bodyguards are going to be really tough to get through, as in impossible to get through.
Yeah. I think the one consideration he's making is whether he wants to attack with Gawain first, and then he can play, I think, if I'm eyeballing this correctly, I know his Amelia got boosted once, so he can play Amelia into Walford, get that extra value if he wishes.
If he attacks with Gawain first, though, he won't trigger Amelia's ability to make the Gelt cost 0. And because she's not a soldier, she won't gain ward, though, so...
Right. So that's really just, if anything, a play for board development, but he goes for it.
He does go for it. Might as well, right? It's just a 3/4. Add to the board. Might as well.
Just a 5/6 now. Because I think Walford does buff everything, but he only gives ward to the officers.
I do believe that is correct, yeah.
Oof. So
Gawain being an
this is
officer.
This is actually the first time I've seen Walford actually just smash through a game like this.
That is bonkers. That made Walford look so powerful. Oh my gosh. And he wins off of that play. It's just done.
Like 5/6, 5/4/6. Like there's
There's
nothing.
Oh, we won with Commander Sword. We did it.
We did it. Like
European Shadowverse Open 2017. I almost said 20 verse 17. 2017.
The only thing I could see happening to that is like if there were mutagenic bolts in in Dosby's deck, then that was like the one thing that actually punished that. But there aren't. This is like the list that I'm not sure if we had the chance to talk about earlier, that instead it just plays Twin Guardians. Other than that, just has Master Mage Levi at 6. But yeah, I'm really surprised by that. That's a matchup I thought would be nearly impossible to win his sword, but
Well, if we're honest, if he had just had Master Mage Levi when it mattered, it would have been over immediately.
Yeah.
So
very true.
But it is cool to see Commander Sword do something. I love Commander Sword. I love Sword a lot. So
I guess you're looking
Yeah,
for a fight.
I've always had like this very special place in my heart for Commander Sword, just because like over our familiarity of Sword over the past like long while, it's always been a class that kind of just sticks to the same rules. It is a very fair class in that it doesn't really cheat anything out. Its costs are always the same, more or less. It plays out on curve and tries to do the best it can with that, but that's really all the class can do with its mechanics. And Gawain, I think, is the single exception of being able to speed things up.
Roundtable Assembly and Unsheathed Blade are also pretty new,
Sure.
pretty good
yeah.
ways of quote-unquote cheating things out. But
Mhm.
I agree, Gawain is probably the most direct interaction with the most cards possible. So
Yeah, cool stuff. Glad to see it work out. But now, Nephthys Shadow now versus both the same deck as before. That's a tough one for me to call as well. As I mentioned before, playing only followers that cost 2, 3, 7, and 8 means his only source of healing, if Dosby draws into a lot of his own burn and sources of it, is going to be Kawi. There's no particularly large body that Kawi can heal a lot off of here.
well, I mean, it's likely that Kawi can heal for at least 4, hitting Mage of Nightfall, Halo Golem, hitting Oz, and if those ever evolve, it heals for 6. So
It's probably the ideal situation, but as for his early development, something that
I feel pretty confident for Shadow here. Like, Nephthys is such a difficult deck to play around. If you can't kill their Mordecais, right? If they make it to Nephthys and you can't kill their Mordecais, it's like, what do I do, you know?
Yeah, and like it's interesting that like Earthright, or the whole mechanic of Earthright, has been given like the most access to banish other than Haven as a class. It's like, I even say that they're more expert at banishing things, but the more recent versions of Dirtburn and the like just don't have time to be playing cards like that. They don't really care about making value trades, and that could really come to bite them in a matchup like this.
Exactly. Petrification, Price of Magic, Calamitous Curse, all those are great banishment options. All those are not within Dosby's deck.
Even Mutagenic Bolt actually is a perfectly solid answer to this kind of list. And just
turns them all into
isn't going to
rats.
Yeah, could be better than that.
Well, I mean, if you die to them, then there's a few things better than that, but
Yeah, but that said, I think that this early game probably starts out pretty slowly for Sheepy still. A Tenant of Night, probably his best bet here, unless he's very conscious of his health.
well, I don't think you don't really have to be conscious of your health in this matchup. You do have next turn, if you want to, Lyrial plus some random 2-drop. You probably don't want to play that Soul Squasher quite yet, but Sheepy doesn't have to care about his health too much. He does have Death's Breath, he does have Cowies. I think realistically he's kind of okay.
I just fear for him because every time I see a hand with like multiple Levi's in it and Oz to refill, it's just like, it just looks so convenient.
Yeah, Dusby's hand is pretty intimidating. Hopefully he eventually draws, hopefully for him he draws big Levi. I think it's funny because younger Levi is the bigger one, I think. It looks
he's
bigger.
like significantly taller.
Yeah, he looks much taller. It looks like Levi actually went into a dwarfing process as he aged, unfortunately becoming half his original height. I guess that's what happens when you do magic, kids.
Pretty much. And with it is memories as well. I mean, Time Worn, I remember, is like, when I was like first playing this game, I thought it was something a lot cooler sounding like Time Sworn, but Time Worn is actually kind of depressing if you really think about it.
Oh yeah.
Like, his title implies his like degradation and loss of height over the years.
Worn from Time Sworn sounds much cooler. I remember a lot of people did call it that. I remember that.
Yeah. It's like you want to see
There's
it.
a lot
I mean,
of
the E kind
mispronounced names in Shadowverse, and Time Sworn Mage Levi is one of them, for sure.
it honors him very much, I think, as a character. But committing both here means he gives up one of them. Well, that's okay, because he did draw the taller version, which you can just kind of fuse the smaller ones into. Just have them stand on top of
Ooh, he
each
gives
other.
them both up, even. This Lyriel is absolutely savage now. Das V with the head going back. Please, with this play.
That is a loss of 6 damage, assuming a Levi even survived there. That's like a loss of 7. Or 10 even.
Yeah, if Levi had survived, it could have done 7, yeah. That could have been insane.
Okay. Find some
Oh,
more
no.
options.
Okay,
Ooh.
okay, that's better.
So this helps him empty out his hand a little bit. So Twin Guardians is... I get the Twin Guardians. It helps you very much in aggro matchups. It's tough for aggro to just come back against something like that on 7. But this isn't the time for it, I think. I think it's not really going to help him against Nephthys, which is currently ticking down from Sheepy's hand. Just a couple more turns.
Going face with that Halo Golem always.
Mm-hmm. Completely conscious that if he evolves here, and he can sweep the Lyriel right off the board, and it's not vulnerable to the 1/1 trade as a Tentative Knight can't go, or it must go face if it can. And it doesn't.
It's kind of
give Sheepy
awkward
enough
to evolve. Oh gosh. Ugh. I was just gonna say, you know, in a deck that has wards, access to wards sometimes, and then healing through Cowie, it is weird to evolve here. Soul Squasher, not quite usable though. Doesn't have 4 shadows.
I think it's just not an option. He has to deal with this turn, I think. Well, absolutely. Actually, I just noticed how far this Halo Golem is pushing him down. Master Mage Levi next turn, but his best bet at actually dealing with it is just evolving something into it. Just like a very, very inefficient response.
Which has to happen. And honestly, realistically, I mean, Master Mage Levi is so weird to play here, because you do pop this Attendant Knight. If Lurching Corpse comes down now, Master Mage just kills himself, right? Just to do 3 damage phase. You can't choose not to eat an Earth Sigil with it, so... He's actually so weird here.
But even so, I think Dasby's position is just, like, fantastic. Like, I mean, if he chooses to hold Master Mage Levi, I don't imagine he would, but, if he just finds some other alternative line of play with Wizard of Oz or otherwise, and that effect just blows through Death's Breath, it puts Sheepy even lower. He's already not got that much defense left to spare. He's still far away from Nephthys.
I don't know, Mofu. You're speaking praises here, but I don't know. I guess, I mean, Twin Guardians is probably going to be the play this turn. You can't Master Mage Levi by this board. Twin Guardians is the play.
Yeah. The Twin Guardians does Alright, I see it. I see it. Sheepy's still pretty far away from Nephthys, but...
I am a fiction and a falsehood.
Yeah, it's still
This
pretty
Oz
far.
could
So
be
Oz,
so-
Oz and a Twin Guardian. Sorry, that was the actual play. My bad. Have to Oz
can be
first. It does
sometimes
allow
like
you to draw to pop both the Lurching Corpse and the Attendant Knight though.
Right. It's kind of interesting to see turns like that happen where you draw, or you play the Oz to draw cards, and you actually hope you don't get spells, because then actually losing the Oz doesn't really punish you in any way. You just gained a bunch of cards off of it.
Right. It's gonna allow Zombie Party to. Oh, the Oz snipe. Death's Breath can trigger now too. This is. But if you don't evolve one of them, I don't know. These 4/4 wards make it way too hard to keep any of them alive. They are all gonna get popped by Master Mage Levi.
Yeah, I don't know about the Death's Breath. It's definitely, like, in a vacuum the best play. I think it's just, it puts him back in the game. It's active, but also the fused Levi.
It's really weird to consider that evolving the Attendant Knight into the 4/3 here is actually going to leave you with a healthier follower that won't die. I think that's a better play. Instead of evolving the, Ooh,
Okay.
interesting.
The Zombie Party. That was like a really explosive turn 7. Perhaps just thinking now, how do I get there? Evolving this Lich takes damage off board, but also makes Dasby's Master Mage Levi just an incredible play to go for.
Well, no, it doesn't actually. I mean, that makes Death Breath playable by Sheepy if he does that. So, I think I like Sheepy's play a
Oh, you're
lot
right.
here.
Yeah, okay. Now, if you, with a bit of foresight, you're absolutely correct.
Never
Right.
mind. Red Hot Ritual's great against this.
Fortunate to get that, and like, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter that he gets the 2 heal off of Carl. He's nowhere. His life is not. I mean, his defense is not really a super important factor for Sheepy here, who just wants to
Right.
get to Nephthys in peace.
Right, and that will result in, Death's Breath being Sheepy's best play, but he's not going to want to go for that, obviously. He goes for Master Ritual Vein instead. Wow, that's insane.
Well, that's fine. I mean, he knows there are Death's Breaths in Sheepy's deck, but he's probably just like, this
Death's
advances my game plan, right?
Right, but in top 11, they're playing 3. They're probably going to have 1, and here comes Death's Breath. If he gets a second
Yeah.
Master Mage Levi, though, this is insanely good.
Yeah, I mean, if he could get that the same way he got a really good play off of... Ooh, wrong
That's
one.
close enough, honestly. Oh my gosh.
It is good enough for sure.
Poor Sheepy doesn't even want to look. Oh no.
You know Sheepy's like completely aware. I mean, it's both players kind of playing around this single interaction of an old man versus a swarm of zombies here. He just so happens to do the perfect amount of damage to wipe them out in hordes.
He does, yes. Both versions of Levi are just actually so strong at killing zombies.
I'm actually just noticing this because when we were talking about the art earlier and I was like comparing their heights, behind Time Worn Mage Levi is like a bunch of skulls. So this man is like an undead slayer. Alright, good position.
Nep is available though, so that fireball's
Oh, yeah.
probably not going to be on this ward, is it? It is. Okay, all right. You keep your guys alive. I like it. Okay.
Okay, right. Sheepy
I am a fiction and a
guaranteed to go back up to the very least 14 here. Yeah. Now if that hits
If you
the
do
Oz
Nep and you hit the
discards-
Oz here, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay. So he's crossed his fingers probably, but that doesn't happen.
Oh.
Okay. We live in.
At least Dance of Death available in hand.
Which is huge.
Oh.
It's a 5/5, he doesn't have to deal with. Oh my. Okay.
Das V. 1. Das V. 1.
12. Down.
You are 1 off, Das V.
memento
Yeah.
waits.
8 damage on board. 3 burn from hand. He can draw.
Oh
The
my
Halo
gosh.
Golem draws.
A Halo Golem does draw, yeah, but spells, he can't find a Halo Golem for it. He doesn't have a second Earth Sigil.
That's true. They can't play it alongside Scrap Iron Golem because he's just 1 off. Play points, so I mean this Mordecai is not threatening yet. He's not. His defense isn't nearly low enough for like a Mordecai to be able to realistically just take him out soon. So he's got the time.
He doesn't. He has 2 piercing runes, Mofo. That's the lethal.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, he has lethal. Just do it. You have lethal.
If like one of his 2 is in this half of the, like, all right, run 2 of a card. You expect one to be in the top half of the deck. Get to the top half of the deck.
50% chance,
Super
Mofu.
open.
Either it happens or it doesn't. Das V, go for it. I believe in you.
I choose you, Halo Golem.
I mean,
think
realistically,
I think it's
there's-
genuinely.
I think honestly, there's not a better play. Is there? You just go face with Halo Golem here
No,
every
no.
time, I think.
Like, ooh. So imagine he draws a piercing rune after this turn, right?
If he does,
Imagine.
if he does, I want chat to spam Vohio if he does.
Yeah. Best team over that situation. Oh,
He'll still have lethal anyway, probably, unless Sheepy has the heads up play to kill every Earth Sigil.
yeah. I mean that.
Which killing that
Yeah.
skeleton is kind of weird. I guess he's trying to. Okay, still had enough shadows. Why did he kill the skeleton? To make room for Death Spread. That's why he did that. Okay, all right.
All right. So that's 2 damage he gets to avoid, but okay.
Oh, it was a
okay.
red hot. Okay.
Wasn't
Well,
it?
he could try it again. He can draw now.
Yeah. 1 more card. It's okay. Draw again.
One more card.
It's in here
Okay.
somewhere.
Gotta find it eventually. Ah!
And that is not helpful.
This is so awkward, man. You're 1 off for so long.
Okay, so I retract what I said earlier. This Mordecai is now actually starting to prime up to do enough damage to finish Dazvi off soon. He has to commit some things to the board here.
Sheepy can also, if he draws nothing better, he can just hard cast the Mordecai next turn.
Yeah. That's actually a greater accomplishment than anything I achieved while I was playing a deck themed around skeletons.
Hardcasting Mordecai. Oh no, another death spread. That doesn't actually really matter if you find the out you're looking for, though.
I think Sheepy's got like this super good play here of just keep hitting that illusionist, get rid of those sigils, and that Halo Golem's just a desert rider, right?
Right, exactly, yes. Hopefully Sheepy makes the heads up play here.
I mean, you play around more than just Halo Golem. That's another Master Mage Levi turned into a 6-cost 4/4 that can still hit face for 3, but
they can still go face. Yeah, they can still go face with this, but it also kills the wards, and the wards are protecting you from the Mage and Nightfall right now. So that's.
I think the play is absolutely to just beat on this Magic Illusionist until he's out of tricks.
But then if you do that, how do you win, Mofu? Dasvi's still at 18 life.
Yeah, what if Dasvi actually just had 2 Piercing Runes the whole time is like something you could be thinking.
Yeah, what if he was just trolling the whole time? Or what if he top decks Oz that finds Piercing Rune? Double Piercing Rune.
That is also a consideration.
Oz is a card that exists in this deck. Ooh, Mordecai!
Okay.
Second Mordecai hard cap.
That's so much damage every turn.
It is. It is. But it also could not matter. Oh, all face! What?
Piercing Rune, back to this.
Sheepy. Sheepy's laughing, he knows!
Actually, wait. That is so frustratingly close.
It's also
Halo Golem Quick Reward.
Exactly, yes. Halo Golem can shoot the 2/3, but Magic Illusionist can't kill the other 2/3 to allow the Mage of Nightfall to go face. That is ridiculous. Yeah. Sheepy's gonna win!
That...
Look at him, he's praying right now. He knows that play was greedy. He knows how greedy that was.
One Piercing Rune.
He's clasping his hands right now, Mofu. He's clasping them.
There's 17 cards left in this guy's deck. He's got 2 Piercing Runes. He's probably got this is I think 2 Red Hot Rituals. He has another Red Hot Ritual. I would have done it. So 3 cards.
I feel so bad. He's looking so hard for a way to live. I feel so bad for poor Dasvi.
Yeah, I mean he's got a lot.
Row, no. Sheepy's praying so hard right now. Oh my gosh.
He's like, okay, that has to like put him at ease to see a Carl come down, right? Ooh.
Yeah,
the
look
pop
at that.
off.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and then he dabbed. Look at dab. Yeah, the dab and ruin everything. But
yeah,
okay. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I felt so much for him, and then you had to dab.
Oh god, dude. I can't. I can't.
That like killed my whole mood. It's like, come on, man, you really had to dab. Anyway.
Why'd you dab, Sheepy? Come on, why'd you dab?
Anyway, crazy game. Let's go back to the desk and see what they have to say about it.
Talk about emotion that we just saw on the side of Sheepy here. Sheepy
Back
finally getting
back.
his first win.
Akamaru's win, emotional for him.
Yeah.
Sheepy's win, emotional for him. And these are real tense games.
They are
right now.
They are. So let's talk about that game a little bit. So we had a little bit of a discussion while the game was going on. I feel like honestly the game was very straightforward. The only thing I noticed was Dasvi not optimizing his Wizardess of Oz. Actually, pretty much every time he played the card. I think outside of Wizardess of Oz, he played optimally on his turns, but including the turns that he played them, I feel like he didn't empty his hand enough to draw enough cards in those games. Just a little bit off on that department, but everything else seemed pretty clean.
And I mean, that's what it came down to, right?
Yep.
It was card draw. And of course, Dasvi ended up on the bad end of the spectrum,
right.
You know, on the unlucky end of the spectrum. But still, like, you have to optimize for every single
especially with Burn Dirt against a deck that can heal, right? So every time they heal, you have to dig a little bit deeper into your deck. So that 1 or 2 extra cards that Wizardess can be pulling every single time can get you right there to like that 1 Piercing Rune or to another Dance of Death or whatever it is you need to win the game.
Yep. The fact that Sheepy survived with 4 health in the Kawi on the Nephthys healed him for 4. My God.
My God. That was a close game.
Very, very close. Sheepy takes the win, and there he puts himself on the board, so he's now 1-2. And Dasvi will end up taking a loss here, and we'll have to go back and think about, you know, the decks that he's submitting and kind of his lines of play a little bit. But let's move on to the next match here, and the final match of the day is going to be Meow versus Sizoni. Now, these are two. I think Meow has been gaining favor a lot amongst kind of people who are looking for more unique decks to be built and whatnot. And Sizoni, of course, is a player who is very charismatic, you know, very energetic, displays a lot of emotion. What are the decks that they're running today, and what can we look forward to here?
So here we actually get to see what we were talking about before. Meow's bringing PTP Rune, the deck list that we saw before. The meme-zing, you know, abomination craziness. And he's also bringing a Roach OTK list that's running a couple extra cards in it. He's got 2 Lizas and 2 Hyperias as kind of just extra, you know, maybe anti-dragon tech or anti-control tech, just so we can, you know, we've seen how effective Hyperia can be. And Sizoni's doing his aggro plan. So I think that Sizoni has a slight edge because Meow's decks are not, I don't want to say they're not finely tuned because Meow's a great player. I haven't seen him falter yet. So he might have tuned his decks just right. But I want to say Sizoni has the edge because he has a clear and present game plan. Sizoni knows how to play his aggro decks. And Meow's kind of, you know, he's got a few extra here and there cards in his decks. You know, maybe not as consistent, I guess is the best word, as I would like to see them.
So we talked a little bit, and we got to see his deck. But let's take a look at Meow's Runecraft deck here. The feature card, I want to talk about Abomination Awaken.
Yes.
Is this card, I mean, it's not really the heart of PTP, so to speak.
No.
But it's still a very interesting card, and when it does happen, sometimes the payoff can be great, but sometimes it can actually be kind of underwhelming. Tell me about Abomination Awakened and kind of what goes into it.
Yeah, so 3-play.66 follower, can't attack, just kind of sits on the board. But if you ever reach maximum hand size, which is 9 cards, it will automatically evolve at the beginning of your turn and deal 3 damage to every enemy. Now, if you regularly evolve it, it's still not bad stats, right? 3-play.66, even if it doesn't gain any stats, is still a great evo target. How you utilize this is by playing a lot of cards that draw you 2 cards on your turn, like a Fate's Hand or like a Stella to get you extra cards on your turn, or whatever it is that you want to put in your deck. Golem Assault's a great option for that as well, because that'll actually put 2 cards in your hand. It draws you up to, well, I guess it draws 3 cards essentially by discarding 1, so +2. But that's the metric. And other than that, it's just a mid-rangey control deck. You know, we see the Master Mage Levi's, we see the Calamitous Curses. Have you played, I mean, when was the last time you saw an actual dirt control list? And not even talking about PTP or anything like that. When was the last time we saw that?
Probably last week with the neutral rune decks that people were running. JC notably ran a neutral rune list that had the wallet package. You know, it included the kind of Sahak wheel into Lucifer into Bahamut entire thing. That's really where the control package for Rune came from. And there were a few players that were kind of vouching for that deck as well last week. So it's interesting to see the shift away from it, and I don't think it performed stellar in that.
But this goes back to the flexibility of Rune, right? We see D-Shift, we see Burn Rune, we see, you know, Daria, now we're seeing PTP Rune. I mean, Sizoni, of course, has brought Conjuring Force. I mean, Rune can go all over the place. I feel like this is one of the coolest times for Shadowverse in general. We've talked about Rune, Blood, Dragon, Shadow even with Atomy and Mid Shadow and Aggro Shadow that we see. Like, you can go all over the place with these decks right now. It's really just what you're comfortable with and how you pilot it against your specific opponent.
So Sizoni versus Meow. Who will make it through? Envy and Mufu are going to tell us what the result of that match is going to be.
I adore this. I adore this rune deck. It is everything I ever wanted.
Is it?
Yes. Simply because I've always believed in PTP and Dirt together. It's kind of like my OTP. It's like they just work. It matches together so perfectly, and I think Abomination Awakened.
Are you cheating on Swordcraft followers?
Well, wait, Swordcraft. Well, let's just say that Albert and I have a complicated relationship right now. But anyway.
Okay. All right.
I like the list a lot. That's it.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, it's it's interesting. It's spicy, right? Like, it's different, you know. It's
There's a possibility
as far as
that
performance goes, I'm not like a giant. Yeah.
Anyway, that list aside, we have some stuff that's just pretty consistent and just kind of works. I mean, on the other hand, we have, like, you could play PTP, Abomination, Dirt Rune, or you could also just play Burn Dirt, and it just works. Not to discredit any creativity from this other list. It's a bit different from some we've seen before. This has concentrations and other things to keep its hand held high. and Mutagenic Bolt. I think this is like the first list we've seen actually running this. No Twin Guardians or shenanigans like that this time. So, two very different.
Well, no. Twin Guardian's been in everything we've seen, so.
Right, actually, yeah, you are right. I thought it was like one of those things that like I saw once, yeah.
Been staple, and it's also okay. This is actually the first set of games where we haven't seen it. It's not in either of these lists actually.
Right. So
did EXO feed you lists again? I told him to stay away from you with these bad lists. Oh well. A rune mirror. This is what I waited for this whole time, Mofu. A runecraft mirror match.
And it's not the D-shift mirror, which is like what you'd expect with how strong D-shift has been lately.
Well, I mean, it would get banned, you know, obviously.
Well, that's true. Who would actually let the D-shift mirror happen? It's just poor organization, really. But
Suzone's hand is incredibly bad.
Very unfortunate. And Meow, like he's that's. I feel him. I feel whatever that motion is supposed to mean. Like double Altered Fate. He only runs 2.
It's okay. You can keep bouncing this illusionist really, you know, almost infinitely. And by infinitely, I mean up to 3 times this game. Or you can banish Gingerbread House. Oh wait, Gingerbread does damage. Never mind. Price of Magic does banish. Ugh. Cards are hard.
I mean, that's kind of interesting. Like, it seems that there's already an abundance of sigils that kind of do damage as they enter board. Red Hot Ritual is just kind of the go-to. But I was really surprised to see Gingerbread House show up. I mean, they already have access to a lot of healing with, well, I guess Coral came after Gingerbread House, but Veteran Alchemist and otherwise. It's just a completely different, like, world of Rune to see, like, the slower Earth-related cards it's got.
Yeah, the slower Earth. We've been trying to play slow Earth decks for, you know, forever because of Juno's Secret Laboratory. And now that we actually can play slower Earth decks, no one plays Juno's Secret Laboratory.
Now you mention it, that is actually really funny. It's like the small polyphonic roar's younger brother of like late game win conditions, but it's even
such
like
a neat card, right? Like it's so neat. It's just much worse than Golem Assault, realistically.
Yeah. Considering how much damage can even be threatened late game, it's like you get 2 wards on the board, you might as well have just played a Twin Guardians and made the
right. Yeah. You might as well play Twin Guardians because they're 4/4s and like much better.
Yeah, it's like you don't get another like 5 turns to get all these Golem boys out. But I think here we see like the general purpose and like play style of what Meow's going to be doing. So his deck just generates cards. His hand's supposed to always be full. Wow, I was so absent-minded staring at Stella. I was like, wait, how did he get Caster? That's a shadow card.
Where did Caster come from?
Caster.
Casters, please.
Caster, not you again.
Got him.
Back with Alchemist.
This was so funny. Oh my gosh.
That was the pinnacle of comedy right there.
I actually can't tell which one of them is playing the PTP. They both have a full hand. Never mind. Suzone's just gonna dump all his cards.
And Suzone's
I like Suzone's. Suzone, I think, is the first person, like maybe in the NGE scene, if you can correct me if anybody's else done this before. Suzone did this last week, maybe the week prior, where he used this Demonic Strike Oz combo thing, where you don't actually, you just hold on to the Demonic Strikes and the Oz's till you have like 8 play points or something, and then just use them as Levi Fireballs, right? I don't think I've seen anybody doing that in NGE outside of him.
Yeah, I trying to rack my brain too. I mean, I think Suzone's the last person who brought Demonic Strike in general. It's like it hasn't been in anyone's decks otherwise lately.
Yeah, it's like it's a very underplayed card, you know, for good reason. 4 play points for 3 damage is usually pretty mediocre, but if Oz boosts it to 1, you know, helps it.
It's just a Crimson Sorcerer, yeah.
That's it's insane. It's really good.
Now, how do you read this in like Meow's hand here? This is kind of a mess. So like, when you have a huge hand like this, what Forest would do is just like mash Altered Fate. It's like, I want it. Give me those shadows. But
oh yeah,
you have to kind of evaluate each card here. What am I actually trying to go for?
Exactly. And then also, you know, you're tossing double Calamitous Curse, right? You're tossing a lot. You also can't toss this PTP, so.
Oh, he only runs 2 paths as well. So opening one path in like his top 10 cards with both his Altered Fates is like, you know, Path to Purgatory is a really cool and often really consistent win condition if you just have the time to develop it, until you just draw it all at once and then you have to discard everything and then you don't have a win condition. I know this feel pretty well. Okay. Age of Nightfall gonna come out here kind of like looking like a mercenary drifter.
Very, very fair mercenary drifter.
Animated mercenary drifter. I mean, you know, not everyone remembers what everything is. Got to keep things relevant. So Meow's stuck in that same position as before. I mean, like, you can throw cards out, develop shadows with like what you can, but if he's holding the Calamitous Curses, and I've been in this position a lot trying to play similar lists, when do you really use them? Like, Cizone's list isn't really hard punished by Curse. If anything, Oz is completely perfectly happy to just take that. You don't really get punished.
Right, yeah,
at
you don't
all
get
with
the
Oz.
banish, yeah, or you don't get the dying wish. And also, I mean, you know, Meow could go for a value play this turn. He could play the Conjure Golem into the caster, have a little sticky bit of a board there for a second, but if a 1-drop sigil is drawn, that gets blown out by Master Mage Levi, or it gets turned into rats. I don't think you even want to. He's gonna go for it, but I don't think you even want to do this.
I mean, you know, Caster decided to be like, he just showed up, so what else can you really
This
do to
right
get
here,
value out of?
this is Stella baiting you into a play right here. This is Stella's doing.
You're absolutely correct. Like, I mean, Caster, I think, like, maybe you also have a ton of experience playing Take 2. I remember you used to stream it a ton, but, like, he's so good in that format where if you just get him off and he's, like, sticky, he trades into, like, 3 things. But in, like, a constructed
He is super good
environment-
in a format that encourages board trading and board interaction, but when Cizone's hold nothing but Demonic Strike and Mutagenic Bolt, he ain't going for that plan. He's not about that game style, you know. He's like, I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid, man. I don't want to fight the board.
It's like he's not really about that action, one could say. But I am now seeing exactly what you laid out earlier, in that he's got double Demonic Strike, or should I say double Crimson Sorcery. He doesn't even just really draw cards with the Oz. He has all the burn laid out for him.
Right, exactly. And Oz just kind of, you know, lets him have access. 1 PTP ditched by Meow. Interesting.
Second
But
one
on
right
Cizone's
there.
side, Oz just gives him access to Crimson Sorceries. Like,
Yeah. He can turn Meow's rats into rats. And then Crimson Sorcery.
and then Crimson Sorcery, yeah.
Ooh. I don't know. This is looking so rough for Meow. I mean, his hand doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't have, like, Super Cycle. He doesn't have a second Altered Fate. Really tossed it. Like, it doesn't really get the shadows in, I don't think. And he doesn't have any way to
I don't think
activate this
so, yeah.
abomination.
I think what he was going for there was he wanted to Altered Fate into concentration. He wanted a concentration while he had the Earth Sigil on the board, so he could +2 himself and maybe trigger the abomination to evolve it for free, because he's out of evolve, so it'll never attack. So
It's actually super unlucky now that you mention it. That, I mean, he runs 3 concentration. This man has 21 cards into his deck. He just
yes. And Cizone is just denying all of that.
Nope. Okay, so 3 Crimson Sorceries. Here we go.
Cizone, I don't know if he's going for the OTK Crimson Sorcery plan, but if he is, oh boy.
Well, it is an absurd amount of 3 damage dealers in hand.
He's laughing. I think he's laughing because he knows how absurd this is.
Yeah, or at least showing
If he top
us
decks
the.
Demonic Strike, he can do 12 damage.
I really don't like that mental image that he can actually just throw 12 damage here.
Lightning bolts,
Like-
man. I love it. Lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Lightning bolt. Lightning
It's
bolt.
literally that LARPing video, like lightning bolt.
Yeah,
lightning bolt.
Yeah, he's throwing hacky sacks at him.
I love that video so much. Or even just, well, the game has a card called Magic Missile, so everyone's the other LARP joke. But I mean,
Yeah,
he,
that's true. Yeah,
he
Magic
throws that all
Missiles,
out.
Yeah, that's the real
Yeah.
LARP card.
Yeah, but he throws that all out, and then like I'm pretty sure that reduces his hand just enough and get some draws off the other one. Like, I don't know about Meow's situation here.
I think Meow's really contemplating if he keeps the rats.
Right. Other than that,
I think he's
this is
trying
just-
to win. I think he wants to keep the Mofu.
maybe he's the burn larper here. Oh, he's gonna keep them. So
He's gonna
I'm
keep the
imagining, like,
rats. Oh gosh. Oh, this could be really bad. This could be really, really bad. If he just draws Demonic Strike, it's over.
we Levi now, but he is, yeah, as you say, or as you pointed out, he's down to 12 technically because the rats are just gonna.
Oh my god, he got it!
Ooh. What?
He actually got it.
That's all 3.
He's gonna miss lethal, isn't he? He said, "Oh my god, I
on.
was so pleased. 4 times 3 plus 2 is 12."
It's so clear.
Okay.
Come on.
Zone. He actually got it? Are you kidding me?
He actually, that's his 3rd demonic strike. This is literally like
Laughing.
100 cracked
Yes,
fists of the North
yes.
Star, like lethal right here.
Got it. Yes, got it. Oh,
Oh.
my god, ridiculous.
Omae wa mou shinderu.
Lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt. It's
Oh my
literally. And it's not even like tossing out the 4th one that is the lethal. It's just a little.
Look at his face. He's like, what? What?
It's like, what?
What?
I mean, how do you
Oh.
respond? Or like, what's the appropriate emotional reaction to just having that happen to you?
Well, you laugh. You gotta delete your
It's a-
account.
Yeah.
Your
That's it.
account. Yeah,
And
that's over.
it's like that's the last game of Shadowverse he's ever gonna play. Like, how do you? That just like
Flip
is
me
a
out.
permanent injury.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Uh,
But Dave was absurd. I told you, Suzone's onto something, okay? Demonic Strike with Oz. It's just so good. All you gotta
Like-
do is draw all of them, you know? Who cares if Oz draws cards? She makes them all cost 1.
what is Suzuki saying? I want to hear him. Like, what?
I need to become a master lip reader. He does this every cast, I think. I think he talks to himself every cast.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'm actually done. I don't know. I don't know.
Brush,
Like-
brush off brush off the everything. This is Suzone's aggro sword. It's almost verbatim aggro sword from like the old ladder that we all hated, but he replaced Ephemera with Vagabond Rocks. That's basically what this list is. So
All right. So that's really interesting, actually. So I feel like the relevance of Aggro's sword for like the entire time that it was detested as much as it was for its popularity all over the place on ladder, it was literally just Ephemera. It was just her. Like, I think that she's kind of proven that. She just goes up 1 cost and the entire deck kind of fell apart. Do you think?
well,
Uh,
I still die to it sometimes. That thing can do some damage. All right.
Yeah. When it has like the ability to play 6 novice troopers, one of them of which can synergize with itself, it's a lot of potential going first with a good curve. But do you think Vagabond Frog, my Peppo boy, is actually like a solid or functional replacement for Ephemera?
Not against this. Master Mage Levi. If he doesn't evolve it, Master Mage Levi just takes care of it. So
True. And like, Dirt is probably like one of the only things other than like Haven that just has a very, very easy answer. I mean, even Abomination
Right.
Awaken just like kicks the frog right out of the place.
yeah. There are a few answers of it running around. He's gonna set it down this turn with no immediate answer, though. I don't think. I mean, Golem Assault's pretty good. I mean, Dirt. This deck realistically is just really good against it. So
Yeah. It's got wards, and I think like, especially against Sword, I kind of touched on it earlier, but Sword is like, it doesn't feel like this word is at all appropriate when they have this abundance of ambush and storm, but they are kind of fair sometimes in that they can't really deal with a ward and put down bodies at the same time.
oh yes, definitely,
yeah.
definitely a very very fair faction. I think the only answer they have is Cyclone Blade, right? As far as like
Yeah.
actual AoE goes, yeah.
I mean, we saw this back when like PDK was just king of the jungle. It's like there's just one class in particular that just absolutely just couldn't deal with PDK, and it was Sword. Because
Yeah.
I mean, you I think were part of the whole thing of like, what do you do, Axe Destroyer?
I
Or
mean,
no, that was,
you could try. You definitely could try. I know some people who lost to Axe Destroyer because they didn't expect it, but
Yeah, that was what
you
I
had to
was thinking
live to Axe Destroyer that.
of. Mm-hmm.
You ready for the good stuff?
Oof. I always find this
That
to be
doesn't
so
actually
funny.
trigger the effect though, unfortunately for him. Won't snipe the Froggo.
Mm-hmm. the very first like day of release of Abomination Awakened, that was the first thing I noticed about it. If you have the time to evolve it, it is just a 3-cost 4/4, and those are already quite prominent when they have appeared in the past in their classes.
Well, I mean, Cinderella's not really used.
That's true. I think Cinderella's got a
Ooh.
little bit going for her, but she's only really been showing up like due to the necessity of like, well, we lost Council of Card Knights, we lost Ephemera, now what do we do?
Yeah. I think Sazone actually didn't evolve Perseus there because he wants Meow to not kill Perseus. Oh, that Calamitous Curse
Oof.
is going to be so good after this ward is placed. Uh-oh.
Absolutely evolves the ward. I think it can gain. It's like there are times when ooh, really interesting. I was about to say, at the time I consider it to be super worth it to evolve a ward is in a situation where it can hit something with only one attack, because then the evolve actually effectively, despite a trade, still gave it additional defense. But gonna
Right.
protect that body of Ancient Alchemist instead.
I love how confident Meow is, just hitting face for 6 every turn. He knows that, you know, Calamitous Curse would seal the game even if Sazone went for some kind of board trade, but he can't even do that, so.
Yeah, actually, now you mentioned is isn't that that's kind of it. You can just play the Master Mage Levi and just go
Yeah.
for that third smash to the chin with the Abomination
Yeah,
Awakened.
this,
And
this Abomination did 18 damage.
it did 18 damage in the Levi that sets it up, also just like blows out Zazone's whole board. Aside from Pepper Boy now that he's evolved.
What a way for Sword to go down. Their whole board, you can't interact with it outside the Calamitous Curse, but it doesn't matter. You can ignore that and hit him in the face.
The name's Levi, don't forget.
I also just made a very silly observation. No Earth Sigils. I'm just so used to just Levi just like always doing it. But
Yeah, so used to the whole board, yeah.
yeah, it's like a traumatic kind of thing. It's like, oh, there's Levi. He's of course always activated. But yeah, that, as you said, Abomination Awakened just like smashed an aggro deck in the face 3 times for 18 damage. It's had no
That is
trouble at
so
all
much
with that.
damage. 18
That's actually
from a
the first
3-drop.
time. Yeah, it's the first time I've seen Abomination Awakened even like played in a game and evolved. Let alone
Yeah,
like
well,
just
Sazone's
smash
deck
an
is
aggro
not.
deck.
Sazone's deck is not like teched to take that thing down. There's not even enough stats in the deck to do it, right?
Yeah.
Time for me to
And not
prove
even evolved
myself.
Albert kills that. So
Like, really, what does Sword have? It's like we mentioned, like, I don't know, Cyclone Blade and Hamza. There you go.
Hamza,
They don't really have stuff. I guess, like, Lancer or Gahalan. Things like that. Little Lancers.
If Sazone gets a 2-drop, his curve is probably if it gets Princess Vanguard, it's the best it can be. So
Right. Like, Aggro Forest is really good at responding to stuff, but sometimes when you go second, or you're on the draw, you skip your first turn due to Fairy Circle. Well, Sazone didn't get a 2-drop, so thankfully it's not too much damage Meow's gonna have to suffer.
probably won't even Angelic Barrage. Yeah, I actually like that. No
Alright.
point in barraging a 1/2.
Mm-hmm. That survives. Novice Trooper out.
Oh, come on! The battlefield awaits.
Okay.
Ow!
This is fine though. I mean, he still has a pretty okay curve. Roundtable Assembly pulling double Juliet in this deck.
Mm-hmm. I do see, though, the possibility of Meow just kind of swinging it back around here. He can go Fairy, Barrage, Fairy, trade into the 1/2, stop the damage, and then Sazone slows down into playing Vagabond Frog.
Mm-hmm. And Meow can evolve first, but I mean, there's nothing to attack, so he has to go face with that, and that's not really... it's not really that great.
Yeah.
Although
So-
Sazone's game plan is pretty slow. I mean, if he sets up Kunoichi next turn, that's going to let Meow react with a Crystalia Errand before Sazone gets too much aggression down.
Mm-hmm. So here we're seeing, like, so this Vagabond Frog is 1 damage. Ephemera would have been, like, a little more, 2 at first. But that's, like, a huge difference, is you need to evolve Vagabond Frog to keep cashing in extra damage by having played him. Whereas Ephemera was just like, you play this once and you just get the cash-in damage forever.
Yeah, definitely. That is it is difficult to even do like that. Man, that value, right?
Yeah.
Just keep doing it forever. But this is looking really bad for Suzone now. Like he
Yeah.
cannot play Kunoichi at all.
He's not really interested in just trying to trade out here, but you know, his round table only pulls out the Juliets from his deck, I think. Yep.
Right, yeah, I can. Ooh, okay, all right.
We're ignoring it. We're going in.
We're doing it live. I mean, I understand not wanting to trade here, obviously, but
Mm-hmm. It's just you gotta fear for the boy because there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong here. You can get Elf Songed. Like, it's not hard for Forest to both deal with these bodies and go face at the same time. Though, you know, a little bit more damage. He's like one off with the Alvidas.
yeah, but I mean, if Suzone, ooh, okay. So he's gonna kill Suzone's board. 3 is not enough. Suzone does play Quick Blader, but he can't play Quick Blader plus Alvidas and Evolve, so.
Mm-hmm. Tough spawn. He's not completely out of it. I don't know. This Fina is huge, I think. It's like 5/4 body. Not easy to trade into. If that goes face, you probably lost this one. Because that amount of damage leaves him just in room for anything. The Goblin Mage pulls another Roach, that's it. Or he even just sets up this Roach, and that's it.
This is just over for Suzone. I think, honestly, this Goblin Mage can even come down this turn just to put stuff on the board. Like, okay,
I
he kept
agree,
it.
yeah.
There is a Quick Blader, but it's not. He's 1 play point off of it.
Right. To get out of this situation, he would need to...
Ah, no, he's so close.
So does our boy have to double trade into all this? Probably, right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, also, even Vagabond Frog onto the Goblin Mage is pretty safe, too. Meow looks very frustrated at that.
Yeah.
I think he's hoping Suzone trades wrong, and I think he did.
Mm.
Oh, he did.
He doesn't want to trade.
He was trying to win. Poor Suzone trying to win.
Playing to win as best he can, but, you know. As I mentioned before, Sword kind of has this fault of it doesn't really have the ability to deal with ward and go face at the same. I mean, deal with board and go face at the same time.
I think.
Whereas,
I think also just that, you know, as a Sword player, like from the beginning of time, we've just lost the Forest, and with the printing of Airbound Barrage, it just becomes. It's so much harder now. Airbound Barrage is such a good card.
Right, allows you to reuse resources. It does 3 damage, and nothing in Sword survives that. Mars doesn't survive that.
Poor Suzone. Oh well, he had a great top deck with that Demonic Strike, but oh well.
Yeah. Anyway, let's take it back to the desk and see how they felt about all that.
Suzone, with some incredible deck magic, was able to win a game, but then the follow-up rounds was not able to match up against Meow's decks.
Lost to Abomination, and I want to say he didn't lose the PTP rune, okay? He lost to Abomination that got protected by wards in a very sweet fashion. I like to see Abomination, and as I said before the game, it is a 6/6 follower for 3 play points that you can protect pretty early, and he just rode it all the way to victory. And in the last game, I've only got 1 word to say, Arthur. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Actually, it's 2 words. Vagabond Frog. That's all I'm going to say.
4 play point 1/2. Seems pretty good to me.
Stop it, people. Stop playing Vagabond Frog. You see how slow the pace turns once you play that card. You start setting yourself maybe a turn behind, whatever it might be. You can't push for enough damage in enough time. Even when it costs 3, I didn't like it. I'm going to keep calling it out every single week that I see it. But I think the players both played very well.
Absolutely. And you know, some of these decisions still are based on kind of player decisions, and their decision making during the game is really what affected the outcome, in the sense that at the end there, Suzone with the trading, you know, didn't quite really find the right path there. And I think there were also moments of opportunity in earlier games where there was a decision: do I go more aggressive? Do I go more defensive here? What is the right line of play? And not the easiest choice to make when you're up against a deck like PTP Rune.
Right, like what do I really do here? Do I want to play cards into what he's doing? Do I want to keep these rats in play? How much damage can he spike me for? It's a lot of questions that you haven't had to ask yourself ever before because you haven't really tested against this deck yet.
So we got to see at least a really intricate game.
Yes, very intricate game.
To close out the day, Meow will take the win. let's look at the schedule to get an overview for the whole tournament in kind of summary here. So we've got Pain vs. Bad, where Pain won out 2-1. Fatina vs. Estia. Fatina takes the win. Best Marmot vs. Kionis, with Kionis winning that one. Akamaru Red vs. Mad Allen. Akamaru takes the win. Dusty vs. Sheepy, where Sheepy takes the win. Meow vs. Suzoni that we just watched. Meow winning that one, and that's going to be the end of week 3 of the European round robin. If you guys want to see the standings and see where people are placed in the groups right now, shadowverse.nge.io is your website to go to find out what that is. It's being live updated, and everything is up to date after the game is played, so you can get all your appropriate information right there.
That's right.
So, long day of games today.
Great day, though.
Yeah,
great day.
We saw some real emotional losses and wins.
My favorite thing about the entire day is just the matchups themselves. We got to see some of the new players pitted up against each other, some of the struggling players pit up against each other. You know, we had a new player in Matt Allen have to go up against Akamaru Red to see if he could show up and do it. Unfortunately, the Michael Jackson hand was just a little bit too much. The finger gun action just a little bit too much. But, you know, a lot of expected things happened today, and a couple unexpected things, like the last match, especially with Meow versus Suzoni. And just like crazy decks can win. This is what I'm talking about. Surprise your opponent. Do something out of the ordinary. We might say it's not consistent, but if you know how to win with it, you know, forget what we have to say.
Do what you have to say.
That's right.
So, with that, again, thank you guys so much, all the viewers out there, for holding strong with us. You know, we had a few technical difficulties. Discord died, so we had to kind of rush the logistics.
Appreciate you staying on with us here.
Yeah, and, well, we pulled through in the end. But definitely understand that there were a lot of delays in the broadcast today. So thank you so much for staying tuned the whole way through. And make sure you tune in tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 10 a.m. PST at twitch.tv/NGE. When you go there, what will you find? Well, there will be Shadowverse Open Season 3.
That's right. So you get to see the standings. You get to see articles. A lot of sweet articles on the website. So definitely check those out. Keep informed. You know what I mean? With the tournament, the players. If you want information, that's where you go.
All right. So we will see you guys tomorrow. That closes out Europe week 3 of the Shadowverse Open. We'll see you for North America.